Hey, it's the Redeye Stream number 117. The United States Embassy has moved to Jerusalem. Protests erupt and chaos ensues. MC, they were shooting live ammunition into this crowd of quote unquote protesters. And all they were doing is carrying harmless rocks and bombs and hand grenades. I mean, how dare the Israeli people protect themselves? What say you?
I say they should have called in heavy artillery. A couple of 155 Beehive rounds, and it wouldn't have been 50 dead. And it wouldn't have been a protest tomorrow. This pretty much guarantees there's going to be another protest because they weren't serious enough about putting this down. What you have right there was Hamas. The leaders of Hamas called this. They said, we want you to rush the wall. We want to rush the wall. They wanted these people to die. And these people, okay, well, rush the wall. Now, granted, some of them probably don't have a choice. You know, some of them are probably dealing with the fact that if they don't rush the wall, then their family gets the bullet in the back of the head. But the fact is these aren't just innocent Palestinians, right? These are people that are violent. These are people that are throwing bombs. These are people that are shooting back. There are people in those crowds that are armed, and they're hiding behind the quote unquote civilians, which you guys love to constantly berate me about, all right? To try and cause them to get killed, intentionally getting them killed, so that they can come back and whine and cry about how evil Israel is.
Well, I know one thing for sure: there'll be 50 less protesters tomorrow.
Look, there's a lot of people getting hurt. There's literally, close to 900 people from what I've been seeing already that are, hurt because of this. All right. So you're not just talking one or two. You're not just talking people peacefully protesting. You're looking at a mass attack. Okay. What do you expect the response to be? During the Korean War, right? The Chinese would send over wave after wave, and only the first wave was actually armed. The other waves were supposed to come behind the first wave as they were as they were dead on the ground or dying on the ground, and pick up the weapons from the guys in front of them. And the third wave was similarly disarmed. So what were the U.S. soldiers supposed to do? Well, I'll have to wait until they actually pick up the weapons before I start shooting that wave. That's what you're dealing with.
Okay, but yes and no, because in the situation in Korea that you're talking about, we were actively at war. Israel has not declared war on the Palestinian people, at least not as far as I've heard.
Whether Israel's declared war on the Palestinian people declared war on Israel.
And that's a fair.
When you have a group of people, all right, where 70% in polling thinks it's okay to strap a bomb to your child to let them go blow up a school, because heaven forbid you have them actually attack a soldier. No, you have them go attack schools. And this is okay. This is a form of protest with you. You're not dealing with people who respect life. You're not dealing with people. You're dealing with savages.
Well, no, and as I said before we went live, I did see the Piper Report's story on this right after I woke up, and you guys should check that out. Piper Report is a really good channel. He's a friend of the show, but I think I'm going to clash with my libertarian friends on this one. I believe Israel has a right to protect itself, and that includes protecting itself from a mob of people trying to play real-life version of Red Rover. All right. I mean, seriously. And the Fox News story had something included in it that the BBC story did not. They caught 2 or 3 terrorists trying to plant bombs on that wall. They were going to blow the dividing wall, and they were going to flood through like fucking, the medieval version of the sacking of Jerusalem all over again. This is getting ridiculous when Israel can't even defend itself without the whole world being up in arms and immediately on the side of the aggressor, in my opinion.
Well, you are dealing with the aggressor. Now I'm sure that your friends would say, well, Israel took their land first, man. Well, I'm sorry, but the situation is the situation as it exists today. Okay, it's not going to change. Right? Israel is not going to go away. The Palestinians have been offered. Arafat was offered 95% of what he was asking for. All right, back in the day, and he turned it down. He walked away from the peace treaty. Why? Because it's all or nothing for them. Now, I know a lot of people keep coming back, well, there just needs to be a two-state solution. Okay, well, convince the Palestinians that there's going to be a two-state solution. Because the Palestinians say, no, there's not going to be a two-state solution. They'll give verbiage to it, but when it really comes right down to it, their two-state solution is Palestinians and the Israelis are pushed into the sea. That's their two-state solution. That's what they want. That's why they scream death to Israel all throughout that region. Death to Israel, death to America. You're not going to convince these people of anything.
I'd lay the blame for this whole situation at the feet of the UN. This is the only time the UN has ever created a nation state out of nothing, and they fucked it up. Okay? So why is it the United States' fault?
Why do you say that they screwed it up? No, I'm not, as you well know, I'm not a big fan of the UN. Right? But what were they supposed to do?
Well, you're obviously going to have high tensions in the region if you take a massive amount of people that haven't had that territory for over 2,000 years and then transplant them there out of, well, to be frank, guilt over the Holocaust. Sorry, that's what it was. The world was guilty. They're like, oh my God, look what we let happen. They deserve their homeland back. All right, maybe that's so. But the UN just gave it to them and walked away.
What do you mean gave it to them?
They drew the lines in the sand. They created a nation state out of nothing. What do you mean?
They created a bunch of little lines in the sand, a lot of little circles, okay, and of areas that were basically purchased. Okay, they didn't kick out Palestinians at this point. Right, Palestinians weren't being kicked out. This was land that was purchased, right? And they had a little enclaves here and enclaves there, right? And as soon as the UN pulled out, what happened? The Arabs attacked, right? Now, the Arab nations around there attacked separately, all right, in an attempt basically to take over, seize the entire territory and the great cherry on top, Jerusalem.
Right? Yeah, but they lost that war. The Israelis won that war, and then they get told that they should give the territory back. You can't just create a nation state and draw arbitrary lines in the sand, leave them to their own devices, and then take their shit when they win.
You're ignoring what the Palestinians did during those time frames. The Palestinians took one Arab nation after another, sided with them during this entire conflict, right, trying to drive the Israelis into the sea. Okay, now, for some reason, when Israel won that and won the war, right, they weren't too happy with the Palestinians. We don't know why. Okay, so they basically said, no, you're not going to be in these territories anymore. We're going to seize this from you because you attacked us, which they did. They were part of the enemy. They sided with the enemy. These weren't peace-loving people.
Oh, absolutely. I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I'm saying Israel had every right to take the territory they gained in the 6 Days War. I'm just saying the UN, the ultimate fault lies with the UN, not the United States. So why is it our fault when we move an embassy to their capital city?
Oh, it's not because
that's where the blame is being laid. It's at us. It's at Donald Trump's feet. We caused this, and we're letting our little buddies shoot innocent people. That's what I'm hearing from even the libertarians.
That's not.
And
all right.
It's madness. It's madness. First of all, they're pushing me more conservative. Damn it! Like, what the hell are they talking about?
The 6 Day War is a different story. Right now, the War of Independence was one thing. The 6 Days War happened more than anything else because of a single individual. All right, and that individual was Nasser. All right, Nasser was in charge of Egypt at the time. All right, he was a dictator. Now, he was more or less a secular dictator, although he was leftist, but he was more or less a secular dictator. But what he foresaw, what he was trying to do, was he looked at the rest of the world and he wanted the entire Arab world to unite under one rule. And of course, it was going to be his rule. And what he was basically doing was he was pontificating about two things. Now, one thing he did want, which was he wanted the Suez Canal under the control of Egypt. Right? He wanted that back. But he was also basically using the Palestinians as a bloody rag to rally the rest of the Arab nations, all right, under his banner. Well, what happened was, at the time period, the UN was controlling the Suez Canal. Well, the UN said, well, screw it. We're not going to get ourselves caught in the middle of this. And they pulled out. Well, Nasser was happy. Look, I got the Suez Canal back. Israel, who had been listening to his rhetoric, thought that this was a green light to attack, and they were going to attack him. So Israel attacked first. That's what began the 6 Days War. Israel attacked Egypt. Israel then attacked, as the other nations came to, the other Arab nations that weren't prepared for war, right, decided to follow on and attack. All right, they were defeated in detail. Now this was a great coup, and everyone was talked about how wonderful the Israelis were to be able to pull this off, and how powerful the Israeli military was to be able to do something like that, right? And it was, for how outnumbered they were, you could say it was a magnificent force of arms. And during that, they gained several different territories. They gained the Gaza Strip. Well, in actuality, they gained the entire Sinai, all right, during the 6 Day War. They gained the West Bank, right? And they gained the Golan Heights. So you have what people look at as now part of, Israel, as people recognize Israel today, for the most part, with the exception it also includes the Sinai Peninsula. Now, a few years after the 67, war in 67, which is the 6 Day War, you have the Yom Kippur War, where Egypt, which is now Nasser has died, and Sadat has taken over, Anwar Sadat. Sadat had been saying, look, I want a deal. Why did he want the deal? Because he wanted the Suez Canal back, right? He wanted the Sinai Peninsula returned to him, and he wanted the Suez Canal back. And the Israelis were refusing to listen to him. So he basically armed up, and on Yom Kippur, when Israel was, a lot of the Israeli forces were on leave, he attacked on a wide front. Now, he did that without any coordination with the other Arab armies, and went streaming across the border. Now, the Israelis had put huge berms on their side of the Suez Canal, and they thought that it would take 2 to 3 days for the Egyptians to break through these barriers. The Egyptians basically said, you know what we're going to do is we're just going to put some fire ships out there, ships that are meant to hose down other ships that are on fire, and turn them on the berms. They just wash the holes in the berms into the Suez Canal in about 2.5 hours.
Wow.
All right.
That's pretty brilliant. Way to go, Ego.
Okay. And went streaming across the border. All right. And they made a lot of headway until they outran their air defense, and the Israelis started pounding the holy hell out of them. At which point the rest of the Arabs got involved. There were several different things that happened, including an attack by Hafez Assad across Syria. The Syrians actually, if they had if their forces were truly committed to the attack, actually could have been inside of Tel Aviv within a day. All right. Instead, they stopped at a bridge. All right, because it was night. That commander stopped, and as a result, the Israelis were able to recover. All right, and hold the line and then push them back. And in fact, the Syrian commander that failed to take that bridge, all right, was executed. All right, for dereliction. All right, so I mean, it was a near-run thing. All right, the Yom Kippur War. Obviously, this carries on until you end up with the Camp David Accords.
Yeah, well, no, and let's fast forward back to current events. Is the blame to be laid at President Trump's feet? He didn't make this a deal. This deal was made. I heard some people say back to Nixon. I know for sure Reagan said he was going to move the embassy.
How does our embassy affect the situation in the Middle East at all? How does it affect the Palestinians in any way, shape, or form?
That's my point.
The idea that you're going to, the only way it can affect you is if you don't think Israel is going to exist. Now, the reality is Israel is going to exist, and they're going to have Jerusalem as their capital. Anybody who thinks otherwise, or believes otherwise is just fooling themselves. Jerusalem's going to be the capital of Israel. That's been historically where they've been. I mean, I understand people go, well, they were gone for a while, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter.
A while.
Well, all right, first of all, why weren't the Jews there in Jerusalem?
Well, they got displaced by the Babylonians, and then blah, blah, blah. I'm not going deep into this history crap. But I'm just...
they basically were there until the Romans said, we've had enough of you. Okay? And they kicked out most of the Israelis out of the territory. Right? That was the great diaspora. Right? Was the Romans basically kicked them out. And then, of course, you have the waves of Muslims taking over in the 7th century. All right? And basically convert most of the Jews to Islam.
Now... I want to ask a couple questions here, just to find out, because the Palestinians are so up in arms. All right, hey, how's it going,
Cabbage?
Has Israel
by the way,
torn down the Dome of the Rock?
Oh, sorry, just a history thing. They never really had a homeland as such because they were known. They were nomadic. They were nomadic tribes. The 12 tribes of Israel were nomadic, and they used to move all over the area until they eventually decided to settle in Canaan, later on. So it was Canaan that they settled into. But prior to that, they were nomadic. So they didn't have a specific homeland.
Oh, that's true. But that's long before the Romans were there.
That's what I mean. Even when you get the Romans there, right? I mean, at that point, you got the whole stuff, the Exodus, whatever. As to whether you believe that's true or not. But you
do have the established state of Israel, though. You do have the Jewish state. It does exist. Jerusalem is the capital.
Yes, but it's also recognized as being in Palestine or Canaan.
Well, I mean,
that's true.
Okay, well, Cabbage, me and MC have been kind of preaching to the choir here with each other because I'm actually on Israel's side on what happened today, or maybe last night, time zones, whatever. Where do you stand? Did Israel have a right to open fire on this crowd of people trying to storm the wall and or blow it up?
I think the Americans should have done that. Yeah, so it wasn't the embassy they were actually attacking, was it? Well, they haven't built it yet. They haven't built it, have they?
Well, actually, they've moved into the consulate. They've established the embassy by moving into the consulate that was in Jerusalem. But that's not what was attacked. What was attacked was Hamas attacking from the Gaza Strip.
Yeah, so they were just kicking off. I mean, if it's an invasion force, you do have the right to defend borders which are technically recognized by the UN. Well, actually, I don't know. What else are you going to do? Either that or you go home and lock your doors and just let them do it. It's a no-win situation. If you do it, you look brutal. If you don't do it, you effectively lose any control.
Well, you'll get slaughtered. The Palestinians, the Gaza Strip, the Hamas and Fatah and all the rest of them, they're not looking for peace. To them, peace is the extermination of every freaking Israeli, and that's not an exaggeration.
No, they've said it. They've publicly announced it enough times.
It's not an exaggeration. The idea that we can have a two-state solution, it all sounds well and good. Oh, it's all kisses and light. But the reality on the ground is there's one side that's willing to do it, and there's another side that has no intention, and still no intention. And they don't care about their people. They don't care about the Israelis either, but they don't care about their own people. These are people that will strap bombs onto their own children and send them off to blow up another school.
The Jewish are just cheaper than that. They they buy wholesale weapons from America. We'll get given them.
Well, it's not like the Palestinians don't get wholesale weapons from Russia. Let's be honest.
Well, true. Yeah.
All right, they're not
They get
firing
charity
Katyusha
donations,
rockets
don't they?
from the freaking quote unquote occupied territories. All right, because they just
Yeah.
found one in a freaking Home Depot kit.
Yeah, but sometimes the Israelis do go a bit nuts because they're basically firing, firecrackers half the time, on those corrugated roofs. There's hardly high class munitions.
Well, how many
a lot
high
of them are
class
using.
munitions are you going to sit up there and tolerate being fired into your territory before you say, you know what, we're going to put a stop to this?
Oh no,
Now, I'm
I
not
agree. You
saying that
have
the
to stop it,
Israelis
but I
are
mean,
grand, glorious people, because I personally, not really a fan of the Israelis, all right, on a personal level. Right, I've met a lot of them, and for the most part, they're all assholes. All right, but at the same time, I'm not going to say that they don't have a right to exist.
oh no, of course they have. But like I say, that's the thing. They have the right to protect themselves, and obviously, if they got through that wall, then they weren't going to stop there. They were going
And
to
the
continue
people
on.
that they're fighting, let's be brutally honest, the people that they're fighting are savages. They're not. They don't act like human beings. They act like the Japanese in World War II in the rape of Nanking. That's what they're like.
Oh yeah, so definitely not particularly civil.
Well, see, my problem here, where I am differing very drastically from other libertarians, is the fact that Israel has a right to defend itself. If hundreds or thousands of people are storming a border wall because of the simple fact that the United States moved its embassy from one city to another, because that's all that fucking happened, then Israel has a right to defend itself. I'm not going to stand here. I'm not going to rail at them and call them terrorists for killing people trying to blow shit up.
Yes, but Madog, it's a very it's a very symbolic gesture when you move. Like most embassies are in the capital city, so by moving the embassy there, it was America doing a sort of an official recognition of Jerusalem as the Jewish capital. While it was outside of because that's where you get most embassies. Well, an embassy.
No, I'm just saying,
pretty much always
the capital of Israel. Isn't it?
I mean, well, they consider it to be, but internationally, it wasn't recognized as theirs because it was meant to be dual ownership. It's meant to be dual occupancy. I mean, that's the point.
Even when the problem though, Cabbage is Arafat was given that. Arafat was offered that.
Yeah.
And he walked away. Arafat was offered the West Bank. He was offered the Gaza Strip. Now think about that. They were offered the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, and they were offered to sit up there and they could have the East Jerusalem. It'd be East Jerusalem on one side, and the Israelis would take the Western Jerusalem on the other side. And Arafat said no and walked away.
Yeah, I know.
This was the peace treaty that Ehud Barak was trying to broker at the time. The Palestinians
I know.
Want
Arafat
peace.
was eluded. No, I know they don't, because Arafat said it's either all or nothing is effectively what he was saying. We don't want a partial deal. That's, that was his, and that's how he kept getting into power, because that's what the people wanted to hear.
And these people are suffering. Oh, the Palestinians, they don't have any water. They don't have any food. If they didn't have any water, they'd have been dead a long time ago. So they're getting water from somewhere.
Well, no, the fact
they don't look like Dachau victims.
Come on. But the water supply, the areas which have been taken, Israel has taken, the occupied territories, they're all pretty much strategic, with things like water supply and resources. They have taken the best land and they have taken the water supply. Now, the fact they let some of it trickle through is a different matter.
It's not trickle through. These people are not living. I mean, these people are more living better than they could anywhere else. Let's be honest. If they were suffering so badly, how come they're not living in Egypt? How come they're not living? How come the Palestinians aren't living in Egypt? How come the Palestinians aren't living in Jordan? You cannot look at somebody from Jordan and tell the difference between a Jordanian and a Palestinian.
Well, here's another point which the Zionists have made pretty clear. The ones who are truly hardcore, Israelis, they want to push way beyond even Palestine. They do want portions of Jordan. They do want portions of Syria. They are. It's not as if they don't have their own expansionist plans. Beyond even the land.
There are expansionist elements within that government. That's true. There are hardcore elements that want to recreate Israel in a mindset that they see Israel as, and it would be far larger than it is right now. In fact, they would border the Red Sea.
It would go across all the way to pretty much. Well, wouldn't it also stretch over to Libya, pretty much?
No, they wouldn't go that far because they do recognize.
They wouldn't go through Egypt. Okay.
Yeah, they recognize Egypt, but they would go the other way. There wouldn't be a Lebanon.
Well, exactly. But they have to recognize Egypt because apparently they left there, so they can't claim that they were there before them. They got kicked out.
Damn it, cabbage.
Yeah.
No, but they would claim large sections of Lebanon, and they would also claim sections that are considered part of Syria right now. Now,
and Jordan. So that's a hell of a large area that they seem to be. They feel
but that group is a tiny minority, and that's not what's happening.
It's a major portion of the Knesset.
Not really. I mean, they do form a good portion of the Likud party. I would agree with that. But they're not. They're not as
behind closed doors. They may not say it out front, but they've all been caught with those same opinions at one time or another.
You could say that about any of them if you wanted to look at that. I mean, it's not like the Egyptians haven't freaking coveted and still to this day don't covet freaking Jerusalem. It's not like the Jordanians haven't coveted Jerusalem. It's not like the Syrians or the Iraqis or the Iranians haven't coveted Jerusalem.
Okay, crazy idea here, guys. Bear with me. All these fucking countries want the same fucking city. The same fucking city has caused wars directly or indirectly for millennia. Can we just raise the city to the ground and call it a night?
Well, just deny everyone it, and then blow up Mecca.
Yeah. Fuck you. Just take my ball and going home.
And a double assault. Take out Mecca too.
Yeah.
So two at once. Get rid of the rock and get rid of Mecca, and then it's like you've nothing to fight over anymore.
Raise them to the ground. They could all go and cry. Leave one little wall for each faith.
So your solution basically is to blast that region. All right, and leave it a smoking hole.
I said raise. Burn it to the ground, tear it apart, not nuke it. It's always nukes with you.
It is. I already said you only need daisy cutters.
The only way you can raise dirt is to turn it into glass. Sand doesn't burn unless you get it really, really hot.
Well, no, but the buildings do.
Not when they're made out of cement.
Well, no, you just blow them to so many pieces they couldn't put them back together again.
Okay, well, how are you going to do that without something that's really hot and real powerful?
Told you, daisy cutter.
Protogels, let's just start wiping out everything, right?
It's not a nuke though. No fallout, no radiation.
But so that's not going to work.
A couple of bunker busters.
Even you guys are crazy, and you don't want to fucking tear it apart. So all right, what was you said that they're supposed to share Jerusalem, right? The Palestinians and the Israelis. Why can't they both put an embassy there and share the fucker then?
Because the Palestinians don't want that.
Yeah, but that's the whole. Yeah, this is the thing. They don't want an embassy. They don't want an embassy from anyone.
The Palestinians want all of Jerusalem as their capital.
The other one is America would have to have.
You can't have it.
Well, and so they say, well, fine. If you're not going to give it to us, I'm going to sit up there and mass attack. That's what you're dealing with.
I just don't know. I saw so many people railing against the United States. Why? Because we moved a building. It's so stupid to me.
But like
it's
I said,
somehow our fault.
It was like I said, it was a symbolism that was taken, and it was the Palestinians saying, well, now you've officially declared that, and it was into the, I mean, if they maybe said that they were going to make an embassy that straddled the border or something, it might have worked. So it was like half of it was for the Palestinians and half for the Israelis or something stupid.
Wouldn't have
but,
worked.
Of course it wouldn't have worked. But, I mean, exactly. I mean, it would be a totally futile exercise.
If the idea is...
But that would be the only way that moving it into Jerusalem would not have offended, the Palestinians. that the moving of the moving of the or the redefining of the embassy is what caused the problem because of the implications and the connotations of doing so.
That's not what's causing the problem. The problem is the same thing that's always been. The Palestinians will not take anything except for the Israelis being pushed into the sea.
Yeah. But this was specifically sparked by that move and the reasons for it being specifically sparked.
It's an excuse.
Well, you can call it excuse, whatever. I mean, to them it's a justification. To us, it's an excuse.
If it wasn't this, it would be something else.
Well, yeah, but it wouldn't have happened on this day. But I agree.
So what happened tomorrow? Great, wonderful. Okay,
exactly. Yeah. If it happened in a month's time, but it wouldn't have been directly related then to that decision.
Well, what difference does it make?
Yeah, but Cabbage, see, this is what the United States presidents have been thinking over and over again. Well, we said we would move it. Let's not move it. We don't want to rock the boat. Exactly. Blah blah blah. Well, they did that for 30 fucking years. All right, it's time to move the damn embassy or retract the deal or tell Israel no, we're not moving it. We're staying in Tel Aviv. Well, Mr. President decided, fuck it, we're going to stand by our word and we're going to move it. So I'm okay with that. And I was okay with that when we first announced the story, but now we're seeing the fallout.
It was never a promise. It was a proposal. That's all, which is why it just kept getting delayed.
It was not a proposal.
Well, it kept on being delayed, so it can only be,
it took legislation,
a finite commitment.
But it took legislation and approval and stuff for that to be happening. Okay, so the idea that there was legislation.
That's what I mean. So until the legislation had gone through, it was a proposal. Until the point at which
the legislation had gone through.
Right.
The legislation had already gone through. The legislation had been there for a while, didn't it?
So how did they manage to delay it over so many different presidents?
Because they sit there and said the actual date of delivery will defer to the president. But this will happen.
So there's an executive decision to be made, to be announced.
Whenever the executive decision would to be announced. But it will happen. We'd already put the U.S. on the line to do it, legislated.
Yeah, well, it was inevitable then anyway. Better early than late.
Well, it is inevitable. That's the other thing is if you really are interested in a two-state solution, if you're truly committed to a two-state solution where the Palestinians get their own state, then they have to recognize that Jerusalem's going to be the capital of Israel. There's not going to be another choice. There is not going to be another solution.
If it's inevitable, it doesn't matter when you do it. So it doesn't matter if Trump did it or Obama did it or anyone did it. They're kicked off anyway.
Can you two carry the conversation for a minute while I look up the two-state solution proposal and the border? I want to take a look at that. So I'm going to look that up real quick.
Sure, you can.
Okay.
Basically, what it'll find is that it more or less goes back to the 67 borders.
Yeah, goes back to the post the post 6 Day War.
Where basically the West Bank is then ceded to quote unquote the Palestinians. Now the Jordanians have basically stated that they would allow for that. Right. One of the reasons is they want to kick every freaking Palestinian that's in their territory out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The sooner they stabilize the area, the sooner they can repatriate a lot of people.
It's not that they care about the Palestinians to repatriate them. They just can't stand the Palestinians in their territory because every so often the Palestinians try to coup, right? They've tried it several different times, all right? And then basically the Jordanian military had to come in and basically, have at it, all right? Wherever the Palestinians have settled, all right, at least after the founding of the State of Israel, they've destabilized the region. This is one of the reasons why they're not allowed to go into Egypt. This is one of the reasons why the Gaza Strip is there, because the Egyptians don't want them, right? The Egyptians don't want them.
Oh, yeah.
The Syrians don't want them. The Jordanians don't want them, and the Lebanese don't want them either. Now, there could be a reason for that. Maybe the frickin' Palestinians are the frickin' problem.
Yeah, but then again, don't forget, the Israelis ended up not having a homeland because they got kicked out by every country that was there. So
right,
I mean, surely if you're using that argument, then it kind of should apply to them too.
Hold on, the Israelis, if you're looking at it from a modern day perspective, defeated all these other nations to ensure their borders.
No, They did. They didn't. They didn't defeat. Everyone else defeated the world in Second World War, and then they were given something. They didn't do it themselves.
No, they weren't given anything.
That was my argument.
So you say they bought it. Okay, you want to say they bought it? Well, fine. I mean, you know, they were. I'm sure they got a very sweet deal because they usually do. But you know, they didn't achieve anything. They didn't win it by, apart from real estate deals.
No. In 1948, what happened?
48. Oh, well, I mean, once they'd already, well, the Balfour Declaration, or was it the treaty? No, treaty came first, then the Balfour Declaration.
After the Balfour Declaration.
3 years on. Yeah, 3 years on.
In 1948,
they then kick off.
The different freaking Arab countries all attacked in turn. All of them.
Yeah, the 6 Day War. Yeah, Egypt and everyone. They got too close to Egypt.
This is before the 6 Day War. All right.
Is it?
Before the 6 Day War in 48, you have basically a war of independence, where the different Arab nations attempt to sit up there and seize control of that area one at a time.
Well, where was that the time when the USS Liberty got?
No, the USS Liberty got hit during the 6 Day War.
Oh yeah, that was Right.
So this is before all of that. This is Golda Meir.
Oh yes, of course, Golda Meir. Damn it, so you just need one fucking thing to remember. Yes, yes, of course.
And what did the Palestinians do? The Palestinians joined each Arab nation to attack the Israelis, and they lost.
Yeah.
They fought a war, and they lost.
All right, so I can't really tell on this map, but how much land are the Israelis giving up in this deal?
It's a fair chunk.
The Israelis are set to give up the entire West Bank for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it. What about the Golan Heights?
No, they will not give up the Golan Heights.
Right, that's all.
Which, to be honest, if I was the Israelis, I'd never give up the Golan Heights either.
Well, that's strategically very handy.
Yes. It's an entry point. It's an entry point into their nation that, you know, they need to control.
And it's also another place to run out from if the shit ever gets too busy, and then get someone else to come in.
Well, it's harder to run. It's harder for them to run out of there than it is for the Arabs to come into there. It's kind of like, I mean, there's certain
far better off
geographical areas that kind of lend toward a better defense. Than a better defense on one side, but a better offense on the other side.
It's like I mean, that's how most natural borders were created. That's why the whole Middle East is such a clusterfuck, because, you know, rulers do not make sensible ways of, you know, identifying regions.
Well, no, I mean, the Balfour Declaration definitely didn't create a lot of stable areas. That's true. But there are certain border areas, all right, that do work. All right, the border with Egypt, all right, which, you know, I mean, it's a small little area. It's a narrow gap of land from the Sinai. All right. Now, after you get into the Sinai, the next one is, of course, the Suez Canal.
But you know that there is no way, there is no way on this earth that the Palestinians are ever going to allow Jerusalem to be given solely to Israel. That's never going to happen.
Looking at this map, the West Bank looks massive in comparison to the rest of the territories. They're going to give all that up?
Well, yeah.
Well, that would be part of it too.
You would have to,
if they went along with it.
Go to a different state of Israel. Go to a different map of Israel.
Okay, I'll stop presenting. I'll be right back. I'll find a different map.
Well, just go to the map of 67. Say Israel map of 67. And you'll get a better picture, probably a better overhead picture of the entire state of Israel. So, I mean, that's basically.
But it's still.
The West Bank is a large area.
It is a big chunk of change, and also, again, it does have some decent resources in it.
It does.
You know, it gives them a lot of it, and water supply, of course, which is kind of crucial.
Right. Well, I mean, you end up with the half of the Dead Sea and some of the other things, right? There, like Galilee and some of the other things.
Yeah, but the Dead Sea's not exactly drinkable, is it? Unless you got one fuck of a desalinization unit.
But it is water. That's very true. The Dead Sea is pretty salty. That's right. But I mean, but it is water, and it's a fairly large body.
No wonder it's next to Israel. Fucking salty. So those Jewish tears.
Are you saying? Well, Mad Dog, did you find it yet?
Sorry, is that too much?
Let me see if I can find something.
All right. Is this one going to work for you?
Yeah. So basically, what you're seeing is they're willing to give up the West Bank, which includes all those areas. Right now, they do want certain rights in Hebron and so forth, right? But they're willing to give the territory up, right? All the way through there. That's what they offered. All right. The only difference is that Jerusalem would remain split, where half of Jerusalem would be the capital of Israel. Now, they basically what you would see there then is you'd see the Gaza Strip, which they don't care about, right? Because it's a piece of dirt that nobody wants, right? Not even the Egyptians want the Gaza Strip. And then you have
why? What's wrong with what? I thought they were doing massive building projects in the Gaza Strip.
Well, yeah, it's about the only bit they got left at the moment.
The Gaza,
the only thing they can build on.
No, the Gaza Strip is where a lot of refugee camps were initially created. Right, that's
they were hoping to get out
and everything else. All right, now these refugee camps are not tents. These refugee camps are, they're full of cities, that were built there by basically the UN, like Ramallah and all those things are part of the Gaza Strip, right? But you're looking at the West Bank was going to be turned over to them. Right? Now, a little bit north of that, you see where the little blue area is north of where the West Bank is. That's the Golan Heights.
By the Sea of Galilee?
No, up by Syria.
Oh, okay, yeah.
All right, they're not going to give up the Golan Heights. All right, now the Golan Heights are not really for the Palestinians anyway. That's something Syria would like to have back, but that's just not going to happen. It's just not. All right, and as you see in this map, Jerusalem is would be half of Jerusalem would be on one side, and half of Jerusalem would be on the other side. The western half would be Israeli, and the eastern half would be.
Yeah, I don't think that's attainable, though, because if you're looking at this map like I am, strategically, it's totally surrounded by Palestinian territory. They could shut that down and not allow the Jews in.
It's not totally
well, yeah, but the thing is, even if you did it, you still got the argument over the rock, Does the Jewish people want to put Solomon's temple back on top of it and destroy the mosque? So that did. That conflict is still going to exist, even if you did go through all this process.
Well, the Dome of the Rock definitely is. That's an intractable situation there.
Well, that's what I mean.
Well, at the moment, it is what it is. The Israelis have made comments that they wouldn't do anything with it; they'd leave it as it is. But at the same time, how long would that hold? Right? But
I'm saying, because you can't have them both on the same plot of land because it's built over the Solomon's temple. Got to knock one down to build the other.
Well, if they actually go back to try and rebuild Solomon's temple, the Israelis have proposed not rebuilding, right? Like I said.
Actually, Cabbage, it's really interesting. I think the evangelical Christians want it built more than the Jews do. And that's really interesting.
Well, there's evangelical Christians that believe that the building of a rebuilding of Solomon's temple would bring on
the end times.
Rapture.
Yeah. Yeah, they are truly mental people.
I just have to say, though, Beersheba is the coolest name ever. Just throwing that out there. Beer is in the name. I gotta like it.
Beersheba, wasn't Beersheba the name of the queen from Sheba?
Yeah, there was a Beersheba, yeah.
But I'll stop presenting this map if we're done discussing it. I just wanted to see what we're actually talking about when we're talking about a two-state solution. And at this point in 2018, I don't know why. We'll call him Benny, for lack of me not wanting to say his damn last name. But why would Benny agree to this deal? I fucking wouldn't. Right now, he can take Palestine out if he wanted. He just doesn't have the political clout in the world stage to do so.
Well, you'd think so. It would settle things down, and also then you would have a true recognition of Israel, as an entity, UN member, and
if you're willing to do that, you have to be willing to go in and use extraordinarily harsh and brutal methods to achieve it. Are you willing to do that or not? Are you willing to allow it or not?
I don't have to. Allow it. I'll buy some popcorn and a 6-pack, but I'm not willing to do it. They got to do it themselves.
But as long as somebody else is mass murdering people and driving them into the sea is okay.
No, I never said it was okay.
Well, no, because
I said I'd watch.
If it's an agreement, then it would be a stage, like separation of the two. Well, no, well, yeah. I mean, like Ireland.
Voted off the earth.
Well, no, because they're not. They're just being told to move back to Bethlehem or whatever. They can just, they can think of baby Jesus. No, they don't believe in Jesus, damn it. But anyway, they're just being relocated. They're not
relocated where? Where are you going to relocate the Palestinians? Nobody wants them. I've said this before. Nope.
No, I'm saying
country.
No, you're not listening. Yeah, well, if you shut up and listen, I'm saying that they would reoccupy the land that had been released by Israel in the two-state solution. So they will be able to move out of the other areas, and plus, Syria could, kick out a few of, repatriate a few of those.
Mad was basically saying that Netanyahu should play hardball and just say, no, none of it's yours. Get the hell out.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So you're saying,
and he'd love to. So Benny would love to.
All Palestinians.
I don't. I'm saying Benny does. And let him. It ain't my fucking problem.
But you think that is going to give up? I mean, you're putting a whole bunch of crazy bastards into other countries who will then just, reform and then try and come back again.
I hear Venezuela is nice this time of year.
Yeah, if you like rat on a stick, it's very good.
Well, I mean, if you're really interested in actually getting rid of the Palestinians out of that area, I mean, I'm sure that the Iranians have no problem taking the view, right?
Yeah, sure. Or Syria, just throw them into Syria. No, but Jordan. Seriously, seriously. Okay, all right. I'll stop being a dick for the
Turkey
for the show. But seriously, I don't see a two-state solution actually working. Why? Because I see no evidence that it has worked. They've been talking about this for decades, since before I was born.
But that's what I mean. This is where MC was absolutely correct. Yasser Arafat was given the chance for that solution, and the guy was so arrogant, he just said no. It's basically all or nothing. Just wants them to all fuck off. He wanted them to. No, he wanted them, instead of taking the 1967 land agreement, he wanted them to go back to the 1945 agreement, back to the original Balfour Declaration. So he was insisting on them. I mean, if you look at the Balfour, if you do a Balfour Declaration map and see how small Israel is at that point, you can see how it's expanded quite significantly. Because the original part was very, very small.
Well,
there wasn't a lot there.
There's no way it would work, because you have various separate regions, enclaves of Israelis in separate regions surrounded by, Palestinians all the way around. So it was never going to work.
Well, as opposed to now, where it's the opposite way around, so that doesn't work either.
Well, I mean, there's not a lot of Palestinian enclaves that are surrounded by Israelis.
If the Palestinians walked away,
there are entire areas where they're ringed, and they have to put in special little alleyways just so you could get between two parts of the, with the wall when they put that big wall up. Lots of walls.
Well, the wall only separates the Gaza Strip from the rest of the quote-unquote Palestinians on the West Bank. That's really the only place there's serious.
But it does separate off region, like portions.
It does divide the regions to some degree. That is true.
Well,
I
remember seeing somebody traveling, and they had to go through 14 checkpoints between, where they were and, to get to Jerusalem.
That's true.
So they had to go through 14 different checkpoints going in and out of Palestine.
There might have been a reason for that. Might have to do something with the fact that they would sit there and put terrorists inside of ambulances and drive them across.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying that in order to get across, they have to go through that many checkpoints, and those were the ones going between, like, going back into Palestine, coming out of Palestine, back into Israeli territory, and then, there's like 14 different checkpoints in this route that they took. I mean, I'm sure they took the most, the most useful one to prove their point, but it does prove a point.
Okay, well, here's my point. If they walked away from the deal to begin with, why the hell can't Israel just say, well, fuck you, either take the original deal right now, or that's it. We're just going to fucking handle our security and our defense. And that means going door to door and removing all weapons from the area. That means massive search and seizure. They don't have the Constitution. That means you are going to be a second-class citizen, or take the deal.
Again, strategically, it's an absolute fucking nightmare. Guerrilla warfare is the worst possible warfare you want. Jesus, we still had the issues of Northern Ireland, and until we managed to get that peace treaty. You can't really win a war on the ground if the people there don't want you there. Even if a portion of them don't want you there, it's a pain in the arse.
You can if you remove them.
Yeah, but again, then you've got to go. I mean, that takes a hell of a lot of effort. It's damned expensive, and you never know if who you necessarily got. I mean, I suppose if you got all the papers and everything like that, yeah, you'd have to go complete full-on fascist then, pretty much. Wouldn't be a nice place to be living in.
Driving them into the sea. I mean, the problem is that that's the Palestinian solution. That's their goal. Their goal is there is no Israel.
Yeah, well, like I said, there are people in Israel that want to push even, people in Syria out of their homes.
Well, no, what I don't like? I don't like this idea that Israel is always the giant bad guy on the world stage. When you look at what the Palestinians teach their children about the Jewish people, and you look at them strapping bombs on babies, and freaking during the riot today, they were trying to blow up the wall in the West Bank. I mean, I'm sorry, but sooner or later, the United States wouldn't take this shit from Mexico. That's all I'm going to fucking say, all right? We would have already annexed Mexico City like a boss.
But this is the point that we go back to that you said earlier, was, like if they don't like it, then, they can fuck off. They can go to, Jordan or somewhere like that. They'll be like, an American saying, well, I'm just going to, you can just fuck off to Mexico or fuck off to Canada, I mean, you got to see it. If it was reversed on you, how would you be?
Once again, you can't look at it that way because you're not dealing in the same kind of cultural mindset.
No.
How come they don't have to look at it that way? How come it's always somebody else's that has to look at it? You got to understand them. How about they come back for a little bit of freaking understanding?
Oh, yeah, but I'm not saying it's a cultural thing. I'm saying it's a natural reflex, right? If you want to protect your country, then you're going to stay in that country. That's why you're not going to fuck off.
Yeah, but
you would
they don't
stay and fight for it. But you would fight for it.
They care less about a country than they do
about the principle of the action.
They don't care about a country. They care about wiping Israel off the face of the earth.
No, well, that's true, and we're going to get back to that. But I have to give you a message from Voice of One in the chat. Drive them into the sea. That will be the name of MC's autobiography. I dig it, man. You need to write that. Or at least get a ghostwriter to do it for you, MC. But either way, I gotta see that book.
Drive them into the sea. Look, it sounds brutal. It sounds
actually, it'd be drive them into the ovens.
No, I'm not in.
Yeah, but the sea's no good. Maybe they can swim. See?
Okay, where are they going to swim to?
No one's asbestos. Well, I don't know. You know where they'll fucking. Where they'll swim to.
Trying to solve.
It'll be all those UN ships which are picking up people off Libya and off the northern coast of Africa. They'll come over and pick them up and ship them into fucking Greece and southern Italy.
Yeah, you got it. No, there's a solution.
Think about how you could do that.
No, do not send any into Europe.
Where are you going to put the Palestinians?
Are you kidding me?
Where do you want to resettle the Palestinians?
Oh, I'm thinking London is really nice this time of year.
Fuck you. But see, that's the point. You weren't listening, MC. That's the problem, because there will be these UN ships that will be picking them up and then shipping them off to places like southern Italy and into, you know, Greece and into southern France and into southern Spain. And then they'll all end up migrating. And then we have another fucking Moorish uprising again. No, it's not a solution.
Cabbage is going to get some new neighbors and I'm going to get a bomb in the mail.
God, I've really got to get my shield.
If you just
my
drive
shield
them into the
polished
sea,
again.
you can reduce the population. Think about the overcrowding that you're going to solve. And at the same time, you're feeding fish, especially sharks. Sharks are in danger.
Good.
Not many sharks
Fuck
in the Mediterranean Ocean. We'd have to seed the ocean first.
Bring back.
Oh, now you're going to
like a replant thing.
Yeah, now you're going to redistribute the fucking
No,
sharks.
yeah,
This is turning horrible.
No, it's going to be like Sharknado in the Mediterranean.
Oh, thank you. You said the word NATO. Let's advance this conversation a little bit. Hey, our NATO ally Turkey today has removed the ambassador to the United States, taking him out because of the Jerusalem embassy move. Okay, Turkey, whose side are you on, cunt? That's all I'm saying.
Turkey's not on anyone's side. Turkey has always been on its own side, and it's always the linchpin.
Yeah, why are they
region.
in NATO then? Why are they
Well,
fucking in NATO? Either change your name back to Constantinople or get the fuck out.
They were in NATO because the Russians, or the Soviet Union at the time, was a major threat.
Yeah, and also the missile bases,
the
missile defenses.
We should just leave. As far as I'm concerned, we should just leave Turkey. Let Turkey have its own.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, how do you think? You see, this is one of the things with NATO. I mean, this is why the fuck would NATO want to be, you know, protecting Turkey? I mean, it's not part of the EU, and it shouldn't be part of the EU, but the EU wants to bring it on.
No, and President Mad Dodge would write a simple and short letter to the president of Turkey. Sir, please bring back your embassy, or the next thing I would like to see is your removal from NATO. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Turkey's always been a problem, mate. Historically, it always has.
If they can't even have an ambassador to the United fucking States, why are we funding them? Are they one of the countries that actually pay their way in NATO? Because somehow I fucking doubt it.
No, I think we're only one of three. I think there's only three of us that do that. But we do. We pay our bills.
No, you didn't make the cut. You're out. Fuck you, Turkey.
Well, like I said, when NATO goes to shit, please move your bases here.
Turkey's a problem because
we'll need you.
They're Turks. Nobody likes the Turks.
Turkmenistan.
The Palestinians don't like the Turks. The Arabs don't like the Turks. The Iranians don't like the Turks. The Kurds.
And now I don't like the Turks.
Yeah, but weirdly, the French like the Turks. So what a surprise!
Well,
but then it goes because they're Russian allies.
Yeah, the Russians don't like the Turks either. I mean,
no, but the French like them. Oh well, no, the Russians used to, but but the French still like the Turks. In fact, they're the ones who are, trying to get them into the EU. Although originally it was Tony Blair who sponsored Turkey to join the EU. And that shows you what a worth.
So you basically did it yourselves. I don't want to hear.
Charm. Well, no, we didn't. I mean, God, when he did that, there was fucking major uproar. Everyone thought he had a brain tumor or something. But they had to use someone that, had some international credibility, I suppose, and there was nobody else in Europe that had any.
So you went to the French?
No, they had to go past the French, and and they ended up with Tony Blair, and he took the bullet for the team.
No, but I'm serious though. If they are a NATO ally, then strategically they're supposed to be one of our best friends. Now they can't even have a ambassador to the United States. Why? Because once again, we moved a building, or as Cabbage would say, recognized Jerusalem as the de facto capital of Israel, which it always has been. Give me a fucking break, Turkey. You need to pick a side, and you need to do it quick.
Well, it is what it is. Unfortunately, that's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to see what Turkey's like, just ask a Kurd. Seriously.
That's a harsh way of putting it, but it's true.
It is.
Well, no, I don't like the developments from the last year and a half, 2 years. What's been going on in Turkey? They went from heavily secular to almost going straight on fucking Muslim Brotherhood up in there. That now they're pulling their freaking ambassador out from the U.S. They don't pay their way in NATO. They won't even really let us use their territory as a jump off point. So once again, why are you in fucking NATO? Yeah, they need to be cut from the team, MC.
Yeah, we should be drawing down. I have no problem drawing down Turkey.
But the thing is, with Turkey, it is so geopolitical. Well, it used to be very geopolitically significant. Not as much now. Not as much now.
It's important to certain people. It's not important to the United States.
Well, it could be if there was ever
war with Russia, right?
I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever had to sort of like
to sell frickin' Turkey to Russia, are you kidding me? The Russians wouldn't buy them. They have enough problems in Chechnya. Do you think they want another frickin'?
Yeah, but it would fuck up the whole geopolitical map. I mean, that's the reason that they can get away with some of the crazy shit that they do.
Well, I mean, they control the Bosphorus. They control the Straits of Bosphorus. I mean, they have a strategic point into the Mediterranean. That's very true.
Well, I mean, yeah, but also within the confines of the existing battlefield, so to speak. With Iraq and the potential for an Iranian conflict, and the whole of North Africa. It's extremely useful to as a
like Mad Dog said, let's get the popcorn.
Well, yeah, but I mean, at least you can fly over.
As far as I'm concerned, we should throw a stick or two in there and just kind of sit back and eat the popcorn, and when things quiet down, throw another stick or two.
Yeah, but it never works if you're just changing, regimes. We've already proven that.
I'm not going to try and change the regime. I'm just going to let them change on their own. Hell.
Yeah, but they tried that. Remember, there was an Arab Spring. That didn't turn out too well either.
Well, no, we were involved in that. We were trying to drag.
Well, yeah,
I don't believe in that.
Yeah, that was definitely CIA. That was NSA through and through, and MI6, and Mossad. I think everyone had their dirty little fingers in that one. Yeah, a lot of players. In fact, I think that was like that was almost like going back to the old 1960s Cold War, spy games. Always.
It's true. Good point. So I think we beat this to death. What's the next story?
Yeah. Okay. So the next story: Supreme Court strikes down the ruling that states can, or the federal government can ban sports betting. This came to the Supreme Court through legislation from New Jersey. New Jersey wants to open up a sports betting type thing, and they got told no by a federal law, which is interesting considering Nevada gets away with it all the fucking time. But I digress, I suppose. What say you? A win for freedom, MC? Like, that's kind of what I say. If I want to bet on the Dodgers, I want to bet on the Dodgers. Well, so what? I mean, I could bet with my buddy, but what if I want to go to a bookie?
First of all, the ruling doesn't change any of the rules in the states that are not part of New Jersey. All right. Yes, it has been opened up in New Jersey, but it doesn't affect any other state that at this point in time has regulations against betting. Right. For example, here in Arizona, it's still not legal to bet. Right. It's a good ruling in that for once the Supreme Court has finally stepped in and said the Commerce Clause can't be used to justify anything and everything. That there are limits to the Commerce Clause. So I think it's a win for freedom. Is it going to create some havoc in certain regions? Probably, but that happens. That's the whole purpose. If some states want to have gambling, let them have gambling. If states don't want to have gambling, they can do that as well. It should be a state-by-state issue. I realize Cabbage probably doesn't care. He'll have you stupid colonials.
I had to get a cup of tea. I got my tea. I'm happy now. Yes, gambling. Yeah, I found this one really interesting, especially considering what's going on with those, what do they call them? The loot boxes with video games. because in a lot of countries they're starting. Anyone know the loot games? You know, the loot.
Yeah,
loot box.
where basically you basically purchase a box or you know, like a cheap box basically to give you weapons or something like that. And you don't know which weapon you're going to get. It's just you spend your money and you get a
Take
surprise.
your chance. Yeah, exactly. So it is. I mean, they're saying that that's a form of gambling, which I suppose, you know, you could say so. But I mean, either way,
Well, you're trying.
What the hell, you know? But I mean, but how, you know? I mean, this is where the gambling seems to be a thing that's coming up a lot at the moment.
Okay, but what are you actually gambling? You're trying to purchase a leg up on a game. You know, what are you?
I know. I mean, it's not. You see, well, the main reason they came up as a problem. No, hang on, man. The main reason that they're claiming that this is gambling, you see, originally, or EA especially, said that you can't actually turn this into real money. But then exchanges started setting up where people could actually exchange their upgrades or whatever for real money. So it could be monetized. So while it was non-monetizable, technically it wasn't really gambling because there was no payout. Right. But the minute that you can actually have, I mean, you know, even though it's not a legitimate way and they say, well, we don't provide provision for it, the fact that it's happening means that it, it now
people want to purchase
falls technically under the remit.
For example, if people want to play World of Warcraft and get an elf up to level 82, right, and then sell it to somebody and let them use that character, they can do that.
Well, they can, but they're selling their email and their password. The company says you can't do that. It's not allowed. So they're literally selling their email and password, their login information, and that is against the rules. You can get lifetime.
I haven't played World of Warcraft. Does that have a loot box in it? Has it got loot boxes, or can you buy items?
No,
so if you get, well, if there's no monetary transaction, then they shouldn't really be able to stop that. You should be able to buy, because you're basically buying someone's labor at that point. It's like a labor transaction.
That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing in Venezuela to even eat. Is they're playing the free game RuneScape and freaking selling shit, and that's how they're making money to actually eat.
Yeah.
RuneScape and World of Warcraft gold that you go and mine or whatever you earn by killing monsters, that's worth more than Venezuelan currency. Okay,
well, that's what I mean. So but there's no money going in, so therefore it's not technically gambling because there's nothing in. They're just buying time. Whereas with this one, because you're actually buying something and then you're doing an exchange of that thing for money, it's the equivalent in their eyes. I think it's a pretty fucking tentative, and I think they're really stretching a point. But technically, it then becomes a payout, which means that technically, under the letter of the law, it's gambling.
If I buy,
it's so tenuous, it's unbelievable.
If I buy a bed and I don't like the bed and I turn around and try and sell it at a flea market, then what's wrong with that?
Yeah. Exactly. You took a risk on buying, you ended up taking a risk on buying a shitty bed. If you bought, when you buy anything on eBay, it's a fucking hit and miss experience.
I know my wife won't even let me buy shit on eBay because I wanted to. She's like, no, you're not doing it. I'm like, God damn it. All right.
Actually, no, I'm lying because I actually haven't had any really bad. I've had no bad experiences really. I mean, I got the quality of the shit that I bought.
Well, I was expecting pretty much. Did you buy clothes or
anything? Just things like my cheap tech. There's like microphones and headphones and things, stuff that you expect are going to break after the wire's going to get snagged or something.
No, back to this actual case though. So they wanted to start a sports betting thing in New Jersey, probably Atlantic City. Kind of like Las Vegas, Reno, or any place in Nevada, to be honest. And they got told no by federal law, which I still think is really odd considering Nevada's a state. But anyway, now they can sports bet within their state limits. But so yeah, you're right, MC. Oregon, it's not going to affect my state because they don't have sports betting and they haven't even tried. But we do casinos on Indian reservations, so maybe sports betting will go to there. I don't know.
Well, we have Indian reservations here in Arizona as well, where they do gambling. All right, but that gambling that's allowed on those reservations is dependent upon what the contract has been they've made with the state itself, the state of Arizona. So, for example, while people can play blackjack, they can't play craps, for example. Here in Arizona.
Voice of One, you're absolutely right, mate. That's the thing about loot boxes. That's why I won't play a game with them, because they are a fucking rip-off. But they're not gambling. That's my point. You know, it's a scam.
Well, isn't the loot box phenomenon a relatively new one as well? And it's mainly EA that's pushing that bullshit with their Star Wars franchise.
It's all microtransactions. Well, also FIFA, soccer, and things like that. So, I mean, but it's all coming to a head because Belgium's banned them. I think they've been forced to remove them off Stream, haven't they? You know, anyone in Belgium, I think, well, no, Germany's still to come, and France, but I think there's about 3 or 4 countries in Europe which are technically banned having games with loot boxes on them.
Well, and here's the thing about this story. I would like it if they legalized gambling through all 50 states. Do you think there's a stepping stone to that, MC, or am I just having wishful thinking?
There's no federal regulations against gambling, per se.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you have a lottery in your state? Do you have a state lottery?
Yes, gambling. We do have.
So there you go. Yeah, so you already have. Well, so you have authorized gambling.
No, but okay. If you are a white American, you cannot open up a casino in the state of Oregon. You have to be a Native American to do so. The only state in which you can do so is the state of Nevada.
Exactly.
And Nevada has such an overregulated gaming commission that good luck ever opening up in that state.
Yes, but do you not understand my point?
Yeah, that we already have gambling, but I can't. Okay,
precisely. So therefore, it isn't banned. It just needs to be amended, right? There's no ban on it. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a state lotto.
I guess amended would be a better way to say it, because we do have slot machines in bars in Oregon, but I'm talking. I can't go play roulette or whatever. You know, I can't go to a big casino unless I go to the coast to an Indian reservation.
Yeah.
I can't do that in Eugene. I can't do that in Portland.
Right, but those are state regulations that prevent you from doing that, not federal.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You see, the state already permits gambling. It just only allows itself to do it.
It just limits itself as to what it considers authorized gambling, what it will allow and what it won't. It won't open it up like Nevada does to all gambling.
No, see?
The first thing that would happen, I will say this. Think about what would happen if you did that. You would end Indian casinos, right? I can't see that the Indians would be too happy about that.
I don't give a shit. They can still operate their casino, but they can do it on an equal fucking playing field with everybody else. How dare they get special fucking treatment? Like, no, you go to Washington, you could buy illegal mortar fireworks, right? And on your way out of the fucking reservation, if you're pulled over, they're searching your car for what? For what, MC? For illegal fucking fireworks that they know the fucking natives are selling. Give me a fucking break, dude.
Yeah, that isn't the federal government that's searching your car. That's your state. Take it up with your state, dude.
Yeah. I mean, you believe in states' rights, don't you? Oh, no, you don't believe in any rights because you're an ANCAP. But you want your roads.
Freedom of the roads. Free roads. Free roads for all. Are you there, Mad Dodge?
Oh, we're bullying him.
I'm here.
Children just attacked him.
He's just kind of ignoring us. I don't blame him for ignoring us, to be honest.
No, my wife was asking me a question. I guess we just randomly found out we ran out of diapers, which I thought we had more than we did. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. Newspaper, be creative. Origami.
Oh, yeah, newspaper. Have you met these kids? That's not going to work.
That's all right. Origami and, I don't know, hogtie them.
Okay, you want to read this incel story?
Oh, that's a long one. Yeah, sure. So this comes from the BBC News. Toronto van attack.
Don't trust it, man.
Inside the dark world of incels, INCELS. Incel stands for fucking involuntarily celibate. So, you know, men forced to go their own way. The suspect accused of a deadly van attack in Toronto wrote about an incel rebellion on Facebook, prompting huge attention on a little-known internet subculture. Who are the young men who frequent incel, short for involuntary celibate, message boards? Obviously, I don't have much hope of attracting a woman in the first place. Jack Peterson is a 19-year-old from Chicago. He's one of thousands of young men who visit forums on Reddit and other incel websites. I would add 4chan. I've had a couple of negative experiences in relationships, and so that has made me feel like, you know, it's hard to move on from my past and start a new relationship. He says, I've had women who have done pretty bad things to me. Oh, yeah, well, my ex-wife cheated on me with my best friend. Yeah, that didn't stop me from wanting to go get laid. What's wrong with these fucking people? Yeah. I don't know how much I can read it.
Seriously, I don't get. Why do you need?
I honestly think that this.
Were they not happy with MGTOW? I mean,
yeah, I honestly don't.
Got to keep creating.
I honestly think this is a media creation that was created.
I do
specifically.
I think
to describe Muslim men, all right, that are willing to jihad, that are looking for their 72 virgins.
No, hang on. No, wasn't this somebody else? No, this wasn't. It wasn't an Asian guy they were interviewing, was it?
Oh no! But the media finds the one guy that's trying to say, okay, I'm an incel, but they're trying to do it to cover and to throw it to an overall group. Although
I think this is just some fucking media hack who didn't actually spend the time to understand that there's already a thing called MGTOW and just made up a new acronym.
No, that's a possibility too.
Well, seriously.
Yeah, we can continue a little bit. These overall themes of failure and frustration, along with anger and hate, are common on incel forums. I spoke to several young men who call themselves incel. They're in their teens or early 20s and may have experienced rejection.
Nobody else has heard of them.
Or negative encounters with women. They go to message boards out of loneliness. Well, they should go to a brothel, but I digress. What they find is a group of angry men pushing the idea.
Hookers are extremely forgiving.
Yeah, they are. They go to message boards out of loneliness. What they find is a group of angry men pushing the idea that they have lost the genetic lottery, and there's almost nothing.
You know what they don't find?
What? I'll go ahead and mute real quick.
Blue and pink-haired frickin' fanatics that are going to scream at them and rip their frickin' faces off if they ever look at them.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
They'll try and kick them in the balls and make sure that they pull their legs together. All right, instead of man spread.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no. What happened to the culture where the man makes the first move? You try and kiss the girl on the date. Maybe not the first. Maybe you're a gentleman. Maybe you're a fucking man whore and you do try on the first. Whatever. But what happened to the man making the first move? You get rejected. You get a slap to the face. Guess what? You move on. Kind of like Boomhauer and King of the Hill. How many women did he, when he took Bobby Hill out, how many women did he ask out in that grocery store before one said yes? How many times did he get slapped before one said yes? A bunch. And all he did is just walk up, hey, want to go out tonight? Bam. Or, whatever. But with every 10 slaps, you get one blowjob. I mean, you get one yes.
You find the one slut, right? That's what you're looking for, the slut lottery?
Exactly. So you find the one with the diseases. Excellent.
Well, it's better than nothing and getting all angry and going to message boards like a cuck.
Well, I don't know. Are these people fucking paraplegics or something? They don't have hands.
I mean, they're on the internet. You'd think they'd find Pornhub. It does exist.
You would, wouldn't you? Plenty of ways of relieving your own tension.
Yeah. Well, and you're going to hear a little bit of math talk in the background. My son's doing his homework. But Jack has a YouTube channel.
If you have 3 hookers and 2 pimps.
God damn it, Gavin. I'm glad I have So Jack Peterson is one of the most prominent voices in the incel YouTube community. I'll have to look him up after we go off air, just for shits and giggles. But Jack has a YouTube channel and a podcast. He is one of the few incels prepared to speak to the media after the Toronto attacks. Others agreed to speak if I changed their names. They're embarrassed because they're unsuccessful at relationships. But many are also hiding extreme views. One 19-year-old incel from the UK, I'll call him Liam, has been active on forums from a young age. He's unemployed and lives at home with his family in their basement. I added the basement part. He admits, he admits, I've got this sort of misogynistic view, which is not helping me in life generally. I asked him directly, does he hate women? In some ways, yes, he stutters. I try not to, but I find myself like, I'll just be talking and I'll say things that I shouldn't really say.
Going downtown with the rape gangs, right?
Yeah, God damn. Yeah, I'll be talking and I'll say things that I shouldn't really say just because I've been looking at forums. And you know, I really like the fact that they added and he stuttered it out. You know, like this dude already has a fucking complex. He's 9mm away from going fucking crazy and shooting people, and you're making fun of him.
He's in England, so it's a sport.
Okay, well, he's one spork away. And
hang on, I went for a piss. I went to get rid of my last two. What did I miss?
You missed the guy from England who's part of this group, and he's one spork away from going ballistic.
Yeah.
Well, no, and this reporter makes fun of him.
All he needs to do is go to Wales or go to Newcastle. go to Wales or Newcastle, you'll get laid, or Liverpool. Or Manchester.
Well, repeat that. I'm writing. No.
Yeah, you're not going to have a problem. Trust me. Christ. Bag of chips will get you laid in Cardiff.
Well, no, and Voice of One, if you would like to jump in, it's a small panel. You'll get to talk today. I know that's why you leave half the time. You're like, fuck, they won't even let me talk. Well, there's only 3 of us.
Let him talk. He's not a fucking... Oh.
I know.
Is that
but anyway,
I can't.
No, shut up, Kevin.
What a spineless cunt.
No, I didn't say that's why. I was just.
Well,
but he says several million Islamic terrorists and no one cares. One guy kills because he's lonely and it's a major problem. That's a good point, is it not?
What?
Yeah.
Sorry, well, he's lonely, so he shoots people.
There's a lot of people who do a lot of stupid, crazy things for whatever reason.
You know, this is the reason that people invented hobbies. See? Hobbies. So all he needs is a fucking hobby. He'll meet people.
Oh, his hobby is to hang out with the guys in a freaking rape gang, I'm telling you.
Well, if that's the case, then it's a really bad choice of a hobby. Just needs to, you know, I mean, I don't know, take up curling. That would be a more sedate pastime.
Just wait for it to turn cold. It's going to suck most of the summer, but, you know, it'll be all right.
Yeah, well, you know, curling in the winter, and I don't know, something else cold, and it's still got to be cold, because, you know, you don't want to get these people overactive.
Yeah, you just tell them the ice is ready for them to go, and if a few fall through, well, you know, get another set of incels.
Like I said, I don't understand this new acronym. I mean, I've never heard of them, and I keep my ear pretty close to the fucking ground. I mean, you know, MGTOW's pretty well known, and I've never even heard of a MGTOW mentioning this so-called group. I think it's a lazy fucking journalist who just didn't know MGTOW existed. Thought they created something completely original, and now looks like a total twat.
Yeah.
Seriously, the more I hear this shit, the more I'm believing that this incel thing is a complete made-up bollocks.
It does. It
smacks of horse shit.
Make you wonder about the rat paradise. You know.
Yes, exactly, rat paradise. Yeah, it is very much like that.
So,
yeah, that was a good experiment.
It would be interesting to see if that study has any validity to it in the human scale or not. Now, obviously, human beings can communicate differently than rats do, but there are people that
but social structures.
Rat, sure. Yeah.
Yes, but it's only a relative scale, isn't it? It's not the fact that people are worth more than a rat. And the relative scale of the rat kingdom, each one was relatively worth more than the other. So it's only a relative scale in that regard. Well, potentially. I mean, obviously, but nobody's ever tried it. And then again, look at Stanford experiment. I mean, that shows you just what can happen with people. you know, in
Well,
those
yeah.
sort of environments.
That's true.
You know, it's not beyond the potential of reality. But then, well, I don't know. These crazy social justice fuckers love to play with experimenting with populations, you know.
Well, and I think that's part of the problem.
Manipulation.
Well,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
It is what it is. Fuck it. Let's go.
All right.
Fuck it. Fuck it.
No, but
David,
there was that crazy guy in California who shot a bunch of people on a college campus because he kept getting rejected and turned down for dates.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is a false story per se. There is, you know,
no.
I'm
not saying no. I'm not saying the story's wrong. I'm just saying that the person's just making up this thing, you know, like the justification or whatever behind it. And that kid who did that made an entire video on his way there. He never mentioned incel or anything. Now, MGTOW is a known tag, right? These people now who are coming out with, I mean, and they're saying that they're from, well, I can guarantee you now. I mean, in England, incel, never heard of it, ever. I will go out and ask people if anyone. The only reason that they'd have heard about it is because of this bullshit story. But it's not, like I said, not the bullshit story, but the bullshit tag within the story.
Yeah, no, and I think it's a ridiculous way to go about it, but it does kind of sound like men forced to go their own way. So I did kind of chuckle when I saw the headline.
Okay, I think we.
And and by the way, who was what was the name of the editor, the writer who wrote it? I bet it was a woman.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Who was it? Who was the writer? Did it give a list? Let's take a look, see if I can find it.
Yeah, you said we were done with it. I just X'd out of it so I could find the next story. So you might want to pull it up.
See if I can find it again.
Yeah.
Oh, next story. This also comes from BBC News. Gun sharing dock displayed in U.S. city. That U.S. city is Chicago, and it's a bullshit art piece where they have these fake M16s or whatever fucking AR-15s on like a bike rack type system to show how easy it is to get a gun in the U.S. As if you could just get it as easily as renting a fucking bicycle.
Well, I don't.
Jonathan Griffin.
At one time,
the guy who wrote it.
Jonathan Griffin. Oh, well, he's as damn near a woman as makes no difference.
I'll defer that to you.
Yeah, well, he's definitely a soy. But no, with the gun thing, you see, a lot of this goes back to, you remember the old Michael Moore documentary of Bowling for Columbine, when he had the banks
he left out
that were providing people with
fake story is they did a full background check on him.
Well, yeah, but
he left the banks out of that movie.
No, the banks actually admitted that they had the authority to do a background check, and they did say to him that they were doing a background check. Even he did include that, but then afterwards he just walks out and goes, "Hey, look at me," you know, like I've still got this gun. He didn't make any reference or anything back to that. I mean, he had to leave it in, but then he just didn't mention it and glossed over it. But the bank itself was a firearm, had a firearms dealing license.
Well, yeah, no, and I'm going to screen share this story because the picture on it pisses me off too. Once again, they're using children. All right, so
cool.
That's what they always.
Yeah, activists mock U.S. gun culture with Chicago's gun sharing dock. Oh, and there's a little girl. She's about to touch the gun. Oh my God! It's gonna kill her.
Especially Chicago, where they have some of the harshest gun laws in the country, and yet freaking one of the murder capitals.
They should have had. They should have had David Hogg holding the child. That would have made the picture just perfect, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no, exactly. And the display, a Chicago gun share program, depicts an urban bike sharing station, but instead pretends to offer people the opportunity to rent a rifle. A sign invites anyone to unlock and load a replica high-powered semi-automatic. Oh, fuck you! High-powered, the KMC. Is the 308 round more high powered than the 2.2 set or whatever?
2.23, yeah.
You know, yeah, it is. Fucking cunts. Oh.
Yes, the 2.23 round. The 2.23 round is basically a hopped up 22. It's basically what it is.
Yeah, high powered, right? High powered. Oh, it's so horrible.
Well, it'll certainly give you a bad day.
If it
No,
hits you,
but it won't drop an elk. It won't even fucking drop an elk unless you hit it more than once.
You're not an elk. I don't know if anyone pointed that out to you. You must not tell you.
He is right, Mad Dodge. You're not an elk. He's got a point there.
I got you on that one.
True. Yeah, and I would say, how would you know? But I did do a face reveal on the Redeye a week or two ago. So, yeah, I'm not an elk.
I definitely didn't see any antlers.
So.
No, I just think it's ridiculous. It's not a high-powered, high-capacity fucking assault rifle. Fuck you right up your fucking ass with an assault rifle.
That's how you get
pull the trigger until it goes. And shove it up your ass and pull the trigger till it goes click.
God damn.
This is how you get panned off Twitter.
Hey,
all right.
That's the quote from the dude.
Activists say they want to raise awareness on how easy it is to obtain a weapon of war. Last I checked, the AR was a civilian version. The M16 would be the weapon of war, you cunts.
Yes. Yeah, you don't go to war with a semi-automatic. You definitely want an automatic function on it.
Yeah, not anymore. Not in today's modern society, you don't want to go to war with a semi-automatic unless you know what you're doing.
Yeah, well, bolt action if you're a long distance.
No, I'll tell you what. Straight up,
you better have a big ass freaking round.
I would feel
be a long ways away.
Yeah.
I would feel more secure taking a 308 rifle with a good scope on it to the battle and hiding and picking people off from half a mile away.
Camper,
that would
you fucking camper bitch.
Yeah, that's right. I would. Yeah, that's right.
Camping little bitch.
But I'd be
you're the twat. You're the twat in the church steeple. Yeah, that'll bring a tank along.
And then he wonders why people prefer drones.
The last thing you'll hear is dong.
Speaking of drones, not to go all the way back to that Israeli thing, but they actually dropped tear gas from drones. I forgot to mention that. That was interesting.
Well, you can drop anything from them. It just depends what you attach on the pylons. You know, it's not like I mean, presumably they've got some standard ordnance that they use, like Hellfire missiles and things like that. But I mean, technically, you could. You got creative. You could stick anything on it if you wanted to.
No, I don't like this false equivalency where they call it a weapon of war, an assault rifle, and they use all these broad terms that are scary and meant to put fear into people with something that is literally a tool. And we have been using since the founding of the country, not an AR, but firearms themselves. This is ridiculous. I don't scare my children, make my children scared of guns. I taught them how to shoot. That's what you do.
You scare them with electrodes. The guns later. That's the whole point.
Yeah, the whip.
Yeah, that's right. If
you're not gonna there's a way, right? Yeah, no.
Just give them some shoes, man.
This is just another case of where they're trying to take away the Second Amendment rights. They're trying to drive it home, and of course it's people in Chicago. Yeah, it may work in Chicago because you've already tried to take away their guns. I mean, as far as it actually.
Well, if it was going to work, if it was going to work, then there would have been an effect, and there hasn't. There's been an increase in the amount. Well, yeah, crime, I mean, so clearly it didn't work.
That's my point. I mean, it's what they're basically doing within the United States is these liberals are ensuring that there's going to be a massive turnout in comparison with what normally happens on off year, and that's not. Well,
I don't know. I think there's a lot of people on the Republican side who are worried right now that they might lose, because they've been hyping this blue wave and all this sort of stuff. I think a lot of people are going to come out because they're going to be fearful of. I think you're going to have a more partisan local election this time. I think people are not going to be voting for.
We have to dig into this a little bit more. We have to dig into this a little bit more. The structure, which was erected by Chicago's advertising agency, the Escape Pod, displays 10 fake AR-15 rifles. Now, are they actually AR? Because AR stands for the fucking company that first produced the goddamn weapon. Or are they fake, I don't know, other brands? They're not even using the correct terms when it comes to these fucking weapons.
Well, anyway. Put it this way: if they're saying fake, then they can't be AR-15s in another.
Exactly. They're not. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so they're fake.
The legally available weapon has been used in a string of recent mass shootings, including one at a Florida high school that shall not be named thanks to a certain hog that we won't mention. Part of the installation includes a sign featuring statistics, including data showing that many of Chicago's gun crimes were committed with weapons that were bought from neighboring states such as Indiana. Now, why would that be, huh? Would that be because you can't sell guns in your own fucking state, you stupid cunts?
But also, I mean, how many people commit the crimes with AR-15s? Most of the crimes in
they use
Chicago, it's handguns. Yeah, it's handguns.
Right. Yeah, it's a fucking 9mm. It's a fucking 38.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shit is ridiculous. I mean,
it's nonsense to begin with.
Yeah, but they don't care about the truth. They care about power. That's the whole thing. This has nothing to do with saving people's lives or taking care of the kids or doing any of that crap. It's about one thing: power and power only. Nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Government taking, just secure. Well, it's actually, I think this one is very much government securing its, its
monopoly.
It's also, it's monopoly on authority. Yeah.
Well, it's a monopoly on violence.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Violence. Sorry, the much better word. Yeah. Yeah. It is.
I wouldn't say a monopoly on violence. I would put it better by saying a monopoly on force, because government, by all definitions, is force.
Yeah. Well, force is, is violence. So it's done,
They're not handing pamphlets out, are they?
No.
Yeah.
Well, probably afterwards.
Did the Israelis hand the Palestinians a pamphlet on the wall? No, it's government violence.
Okay. All right. I like the term government force, but whatever. It doesn't matter.
I think, it is violence if it's, if they're shooting you, and I'd classify that as a violent act.
Well, absolutely. Well, I just think in Chicago, of all places, with some of the highest gun crime statistics and the highest gun regulations in the country, the goal on these motherfuckers, all right? The cojones.
Just assholes. There's a lot of them. Wouldn't surprise me if half of them were Israelis to begin with.
Send them to the gun.
All right, and moving on a little bit. So almost 80% of Russians say they are not affected by the Western, so America and her allies doing sanctions against Russia. 80%. So almost 80. It's 78 to be exact. And this comes from RT International. So it might be skewed a little bit.
Yeah,
it is RT.
Yeah, well,
a little bit.
Yeah,
it's a wee bit.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, is 78% of them not only love Putin to death because he's a no shirt wearing, bear riding badass, and they're not worried about the United States sanctions. What's the point of the sanctions, Cabbage? Is there a fucking point?
I would say,
really, other than ratcheting up tensions.
I wouldn't say they love him to death. I think they love him in fear of their lives. You'd say you don't do it. You never know. You might bring back the gulags again.
Where there's a whip, there's a way.
Exactly. So, the sanctions aren't going to achieve anything with Russia. They've got so many resources. I mean, they really don't. Anything they need, they can get. They might have to pay a little over the odds, but they're working with the AIIB. Now they've got different, routes of trading. They don't have to trade in the petrodollar. They're working with, trading in commodity baskets and basically bartering in certain regards. So they, you know, they can get pretty much anything they want.
Where sanctions hurt are investments, investing into their infrastructure and stuff.
Exactly, and the thing is that the Russians don't give a shit because, you know, the stuff that people want, the things that people would want to invest into, they're going to invest into later. And if the investors, if they can't get their money into an economy, they get just as pissed as the person who is denied the ability to invite those people.
Okay, guys.
Right? Because the investors want to make money too, right?
Well, I want to inject this into there. We'll just combine both these stories. This is also from RT. Bridge from mainland Russia to Crimea is hours away from opening. The bridge across the Kerch Strait, which will connect Russia's Crimean Peninsula to the Krasnodar region, is set to open on Tuesday. That's about half a year ahead of schedule. 9 months ahead of schedule. And that's with sanctions from the West.
Sorry, well, like I said, the sanctions mean fuck all. I mean, but what's that from? Sorry, but where's it going from and to? That
it is going from the bridge across the Kerch Strait will connect Russia's Crimean Peninsula and Krasnodar region in Crimea. So they only have one. They have one land connection through that area through the peninsula. So it's a chokehold. So now they're going straight across the fucking water. It's like 18-kilometer long bridge or 13 kilometers long. It's huge. It is Russia's biggest water bridge. Yeah. And they did that all with sanctions in effect and with tensions with the West. I mean, we're not stopping them from doing anything.
But that's what I mean. To build a bridge, you really don't need any external resources. I mean, you think that Russia doesn't have enough iron, steel, concrete.
Okay, fair enough. I was about ready to say this. When I read the article all the way through, which I don't plan on doing right now because it's about a fucking bridge. But there was so much iron used that you could have built 13 Eiffel Towers for this stretch.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen how big Russia is, right? It's the largest country on the entire planet, and you think that it doesn't have enough iron ore to be able to supply its own
Oh, no, it's got plenty of iron. There's no doubt.
You know, I mean, this is what I mean. It's retarded. I mean, in terms of infrastructure or anything like that.
They still can't build ships, though.
Yeah, but once again...
I mean, technically they could if they knew what they were doing.
Well, okay, they can build them, but they just sink quite quickly.
Yeah.
They're not a sailing nation.
If sanctions don't work, then it's just a false narrative, and it's just grandstanding. What's the point?
See, the thing is, sanctions do work in a certain regard, because the one thing it does prevent is it does prevent the high technology from going across the border into Russia. That's where
it doesn't, though, because Russia's got a massive R&D department of its own.
Yeah, but they're not really. They still can't.
And trust me, you think most of the integrated circuitry and things like that is being built in, China or South Korea. If you don't think that they can get stuff out of South Korea,
well, to an extent,
they can get it out of China. So they can. I mean, and they got their own manufacturing capacity.
To an extent, they can, but it's still very limited in comparison.
They're not backwards. They are not backwards.
I didn't say that they're not. I didn't say they're backwards, but they're still limited in comparison.
Well, yeah, but this is the whole point. In actual fact, sanctions can work against you in the fact that they then invest more money in their own, so they're not dependent. So they reduce dependency. That means you've got an even greater.
Well, you have less hold. Yeah, the sanctions have less of a hold. Yeah, that's very true.
So I mean, especially with a country like Russia, because the amount of resources they've got to play with, it wouldn't take them long to get.
Yeah. Okay, but my thing
is, look how quick China's done it just by setting up. I mean, look at the universities and stuff.
The sanctions may have some effect, but the effect is very slight, in my opinion, and the tension that it ratchets it up is magnified even more. So what's the point, really? No. Why play this game? I think Trump, without all this Russia collusion, would
first of all,
on much better terms with the Russian
when we declare sanctions on a country. All right, let's be real specific here. Just like when we declare sanctions on the United States, declare sanction on Iran. Who does it affect?
Well, it'll affect any country that normally invests in that country, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the people.
It affects Europe more than anything else. So.
Well, well, there's that too. Then why are we punishing our quote-unquote European allies and friends?
Because maybe that's the problem.
So you think the
Europeans
issue
are
is
our
more
allies?
So the issue is more with the EU than it is with Russia. Is that what
In some
I'm hearing you
cases,
say?
in some cases, yes.
Well, yeah, because you know, the EU is trying to absorb more and more of these communist countries, and it's becoming more and more socialist. I mean, if you're looking at an existential, you know, threat, then it's probably more likely going to come from Europe than it will from Russia. And Europe has always said that it would like to have Russia in the European Union.
Yes.
So imagine that shit.
Russia would like to lead the European Union.
It's not in the European Union.
It would not like to lead them. It would like to dictate to them.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. The only way they'll join is if they run it, because then they, like Germany, they win through peace, but they couldn't win through war.
Yes, but they can win it just by being who they are. And, you know, France has always been a good ally to Russia ever since the Bolshevik Revolution. So, you know, that they have that. This is the problem. I mean, the EU could sell itself, you know, would sell itself out to Russia because they're all becoming a socialist, as Russia used to be back in the days of Stalin, pretty much. Maybe not Stalin.
No, you have a good point. It seems like Russia wanted to go more westernized for a little bit, and then the Western powers, at least the European ones, were like, no, you know, we kind of came around to that whole commie thing, and it's, you know,
yeah. And you think Putin wouldn't like? I mean, he already effectively sees himself as a czar, you know. So you don't think he would like to be, you know, rather than call himself as a czar? I mean, just call himself, you know, Grand Vizier, I suppose. But I mean, I don't know, whatever title he wants to give himself, and you know, end up effectively as the tyrant leader. You know, in perpetuity, which he already is. I mean, he's there in place for, you know, until the day he dies.
Yeah, which
they'll probably embalm him and put him next to Lenin.
I thought that was odd as well. But I think we have one more story left. MC, it's the one about the Mueller probe that you posted. If you want to dig into that, I think that's the last one we got, and we've gone about 2 hours. We're
okay. This is from The Hill. All right. Special counsel Robert Mueller has withstood relentless political attacks, many distorting his record of distinguished government service. Yeah, okay. But there's one episode even Mueller's former law enforcement comrades and independent ethicists acknowledge raises legitimate legal issues and a possible conflict of interest in his overseeing of the Russian election probe. In 2009, when Mueller ran the FBI, the Bureau asked the Russian oligarch Oleg I don't know how to say this name, Deripaska, right, to spend millions of his own dollars funding an FBI-supervised operation to rescue a retired FBI agent, Robert Levinson, captured in Iran while working for the CIA in 2007. Okay, so basically, this gentleman is a Russian oligarch, right? Yes, that's the same Deripaska who has surfaced in the Mueller's current investigation and who was recently sanctioned by the Trump administration.
Ooh, that doesn't look good.
So basically, you've got a direct, where you don't have a direct connection with Trump between the Russian oligarch. You do with the Mueller probe, because Mueller was one of the people who was authorizing this. So it's just another case of just how out of control Mueller is. I mean, there's a number of things that have been talked about recently with the Mueller probe. Unfortunately, much of it is still unconfirmed. One of the latest things that people are talking about is this idea that they've got a mole, that the FBI, prior to the election, planted a mole in the Trump campaign. Okay, and this mole then, what people are saying, well, we don't know how true it is, but there's been indications that this mole is the one who was giving information such as the FBI or the Clinton emails. The Russians had the Clinton emails, so that if one of the associates of Trump says, I heard that the Russians have the Clinton emails, they can then run and say, see here, this is evidence that they're working with the Russians so they can continue the FISA war. So if that's the case, I mean, there's a lot of what ifs. We'll have to wait and see. Now, the person that they think is the mole is this, what's his name? Stefan something. Right?
Molyneux?
No, it's not Stefan Molyneux. But it is somebody. It is somebody. It is a professor. It is a professor in Cambridge. All right, who's also known
you mean,
to work for.
Well, are you saying Cambridge in England or America?
Cambridge in England.
Oh, Jesus.
And he is an MI6. He does have issues with MI6. He has connections.
I told you, this happens every single fucking time with these. Oh, man, it never ceases to amaze me.
Let me see if I can find his name. Hold on just a minute while I look this up.
See, I mean, don't forget that also Karl Marx was educated at Cambridge, so that's right. The film in, the 1960s, the fucking the Russian spies that were exposed, the double agents.
While he's looking up that name, as he's looking up that name,
I was trying to explain something to you here. Why you just cut me off when I'm in the middle of a Discord? I'm saying that Cambridge itself, the location, which is related to what he's talking about.
Stefan Halper.
Stefan Halper, right?
Yeah.
But you've got Cambridge, which is an entire history going back all the way through time, who've always had socialist, leanings. They've always been, and MI6 used to use them as, like recruitment, like the NSA or the OSS as it was back then, used to use Yale and Harvard to pick people off.
Now, if this guy if all of this is true, and at this point in time, to be honest, it is speculation, all right? But if all of this is true, if he's the one who they're saying that this is the guy who told Papadopoulos, all right, that the Russians had Hillary Clinton's emails, and they did use this verbiage, all right, that Papadopoulos was talking about the Russians having the emails, the Hillary Clinton emails. So if this is the guy that's telling them that, he's basically feeding them a false information that they then are running to the FISA warrant to say, see, this is justification because that we're thinking that the Trump administration is in collusion. This is just ridiculous. But once again, we don't know if that's true or not. I mean, there's just speculation. But this guy is a dual citizen. And to be honest, I would like to know whether or not Mr. Stefan Halper has been interviewed, all right, by the Mueller investigation, or whether or not he is an FBI plant. It would be something that we eventually
or MI6 and whatever.
Well, or an MI6 plant.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the thing, MI6 and our intelligence agencies work so fucking tight together these days.
That kind of brings up the whole idea of dual citizenship. What country do you owe your allegiance to at that point, and should we even allow it?
It's a good question.
The one you're born in.
Well, I mean, the dual citizenship I don't think is allowed anymore within the United States, as far as you can't choose it. Nowadays, they say you have to choose one or the other. But,
really? Even with Israel?
Are you sure?
Yes.
Like people like
I thought Israel was always the exception.
Well, people like Bret Hart, Michael J. Fox, a lot of these Canadians that came down for the entertainment industries, they are dual citizens.
Right. Now, it doesn't affect the people who currently have dual citizenship. All right. But going forward, there will not be any more dual citizenship.
Do you agree with that? Because I'm kind of torn. I mean, like, okay, if you're an American-born Jew, why couldn't you have dual citizenship with Israel and the United States?
If you want to become an Israeli, go be an Israeli.
Yeah, exactly. Perfectly reasonable.
You can always renounce your American citizenship and stay in Israel. No one's going to stop you.
Mm-hmm.
You can go get an Israeli passport.
Yeah, you don't need permission. You can just burn your passport.
So you don't support,
that would do it.
You don't support the idea of dual citizenship at all. I'm I'm kind of iffy on it, but I am wondering, to whom do you owe your allegiance to? With the whole JFK election, they were talking about him owing his allegiance to the Pope for the simple fact that he was Catholic. He wasn't even an Italian citizen, obviously, but he was Catholic. So why wouldn't that come up when it comes to dual citizenship, especially in today's political climate?
Well, I mean, obviously, I haven't seen anyone, claiming dual citizenship, but I do agree with you that there shouldn't be a dual citizenship. I mean, it's one or the other. And when you're born, your parents choose. Do you want him to be an American, or do you want him to be a German or a Russian or an Englishman, or British, UK citizen, whatever, Canadian, or a Mexican? I really don't care. But if you choose another nation, then you're not a citizen of the United States. If you are a citizen of the United States and you determine that, I no longer want to be a citizen of the United States and I want to renounce my citizenship and become, a citizen of Israel or a citizen of Abu Dhabi, for all I care, go for it.
Interesting. 40. Hey, man, you're really late. Nice to see you, though. What do you think about dual citizenship? Do you think, one, is there a conflict with who you would be loyal to if you were a dual citizen? Let's say you're a German and American citizen circa, I don't know, 1940. I mean, is there a problem there?
If you'll tell you, then you have a problem.
Yeah, sorry for being late. I had to take care of something.
Oh, it's all good. Real life matters, man. More than internet, dude.
Fucking wish it didn't sometimes. Dual citizenship. I know that it's not allowed anymore. My girlfriend was actually born in Germany, and she had talked to me not like recently, like 3 or 4 years ago. We had talked about,
what
if
you're
we
saying
ever.
is you're an incel now.
Yeah, I'm pretty much an incel. No, we talked about if we ever got the opportunity to move to Germany, would we? I was like, yeah, sure, whatevs. And so we looked into having dual citizenship, and they don't allow that anymore. I don't know any specifics. I don't know if this was like a cutoff date where everyone prior to 2000, for instance, you can retain your dual citizenship, but everyone going here forward cannot. I don't know the specifics. I just know it's not allowed anymore. You can no longer apply for dual citizenship. But I think that that's something that's extremely important. Like, one thing I have a problem with is people who have dual citizenship with Israel, for instance. Because at that point, you're talking not necessarily just about citizenship, but you're also talking about you're talking about a piece of land that is, should we say, religiously charged. It's a place that has a lot of religious connotation, right? It'd be like if we were accepting people from Saudi Arabia, for instance, and they had dual citizenship in Saudi Arabia, the US, and then we decide, we're just going to go bomb Mecca tomorrow. Do you think people would maybe have conflicting interests there? So that's one of the problems I have with dual citizenship.
Yes, the Mechanese.
yeah. But yeah, that's why I'm very much opposed to it, to be honest.
Can you believe it? They pray to a meteorite. Fucking bizarre.
They don't pray to a meteorite. They stone the meteorite.
Yeah, they wander around it, don't they? Yeah, they do. Yeah, they throw the stones at it. Yeah, they walk around it and throw stones at the stone that came from the sky. Fucking loonies.
That'll teach it.
Yeah, won't have none of that again.
Here, will you?
That'll
Naughty
teach that
rock.
to cover up.
Naughty rock.
Sorry.
Surprised you don't smack it with the.
We really don't mean to make fun of the religion of peace. I mean Islam.
I do. I intend to. Yeah. Deserves satirizing.
Brought to you by Mad Dodge.
Yes, he's user 100% endorsed.
Yeah, Mad Dodge Productions. We have a Patreon, but it's not on the Redeye Live channel. I hope to have my main channel back in about 10 or 9 days, I hope. We'll see.
Oh, he's counting down.
Oh, I am. This has been a long 3 months, guys.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, you don't do the promotion enough. I mean, if you did as much promotion on this one as you did on the previous one, you'd have been up to numbers by now, and then you could have monetized it too. Then you'd have had 2 monetized streams when the third, when the first one came back. But you didn't. Sorry.
Oh, great. Now my wife's adopting the neighbor kids. She's like, I gotta go check on my other son. I'm like, what? She's like, oh, the neighbor's kid. I'm like, we're not keeping him. She's like, yeah, we are. No, we're not keeping him. We're not fucking doing
That's
that.
getting far too liberal.
This is catch and release. You release the kid back into the wild. God damn it.
What the fuck is your wife doing? Is she...
No,
I was going to say, what the fuck is your wife doing? Is she practicing her, oh God, what do you call it when you do the casting? Fishing.
I got her to convert into libertarianism, but with this whole "it takes a village to raise a child" thing, she might be a secret Clinton supporter. I don't know. I need to watch out for her.
Seems like it. Yeah, well, check her dresses.
Yeah. Oh God.
Jesus.
Oh God damn.
You have a humidor.
You missed the first hour, 40. The first hour, we pretty much talked strictly about Israel and the embassy move and, the riot or protest, if you want to call it that ensued.
Oh, my God.
What say you about that, real quick, just because that was the main part of the show and you missed the whole fucker?
Actually, it's actually really fucking funny. So, I get off work and I'm sitting in the break room and watching the news since, just on. And this Mexican guy comes in, sits down, and it pans across to show, a bunch of, brown people throwing rocks, the usual. And it's like, yes, Israeli police are using rubber bullets to deter protesters. And he turns around and he's just like, fuck that. If I was out there, I'd be using real bullets. We both just fucking laughed. Like, I don't know. He's just that. Oh, God.
Well, I think they stopped using rubber bullets pretty quickly and went for the real stuff. Now, they didn't call in heavy artillery, which was my suggestion.
Yeah. Well, they did. They brought in some of the. I didn't see a terrible amount of footage, but I did see enough to where they're bringing in. Fuck. I can't remember the name of them. It's like tear gas artillery. It'll fire off the tear gas canisters, but it'll fire off like 10, 12 at a time.
I know these things are banned by the convention, but there's a purpose for beehive rounds.
Beehive rounds?
Yeah, and cluster bombs. And,
Is that like rounds with like pepper spray in them or something?
No, to a flechette.
No.
Thousands
they basically split up.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, basically like a needle gun. A needle
basically, a 360 for a large area.
Yeah.
Well, see, 40. I woke up late today because I was up half the night with sick kids, but I woke up around 12:30. And I get on YouTube, and the first thing I see is Piper Report. He's a friend of the show. Mm-hmm. He put out a new video. And I clicked on it. It was about this, and he was taking the Palestinian side on this one, and I feel like a lot of libertarians are. And I would just like to ask them, who violated the non-aggression principle in this situation? The Israelis defending themselves and their borders, or the Palestinians trying to blow up the fucking wall? I mean, because literally, the Fox News story had. They killed two or three Palestinian terrorists who were trying to blow up the wall in the West Bank. That way, everybody could flood through medieval fucking style.
Well, that's what they're trying to do. They ordered a mass assault on the wall. Let's be honest. The Hamas ordered a mass assault on the wall. I know I said this before, but that's what is happening.
Yeah. Well, no, and that's where I'm coming from is who's violating the NAP here? I think the Palestinians are, and I side with Israel on this one. And that's going to put me kind of on the blacklist when it comes to libertarian circles. That's kind of shots fired. They might be shoving me to the conservative side.
Oh, fuck. To be honest, this is one of the problems I have with the NAP. Like,
Remember who you're talking to. You're talking to the communist bomb thrower.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, the NAP is so vague. I mean, does it only take into account physical violence, or does it take into account power politics? Does it take into, like what are we considering force here in this regard? So I mean, any way you look at it, you could somehow come up with it. Zimbabwe is the person utilizing force here. I'm sure there's roundabout ways of going about it.
Well, no, absolutely. And my contention would be the Palestinians are initiating force. All that happened today. It wasn't that big of a day. The Israelis didn't go door to door seizing weapons, all right? What happened was the United States opened the new embassy. That's fucking it. It's a building, all right?
Yeah.
That's it.
And
as Cabbage has said repeatedly, that it is the symbolism involved. Well, fuck symbolism. Let's talk about reality. It's a goddamn building. And it's just for diplomatic relations, all right? Or spying. I mean, let's really talk about what embassies are used for. I mean...
kind of.
It hasn't been unknown for that to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I don't believe the Israelis did... Okay, firing weapons...
The Israelis done nothing wrong. That's what you're about to say. No. I don't think the Israelis did nothing wrong. You did.
Didn't do nothing. Didn't do nothing. There you go. I'll go all in on it. Fuck you, Cab. Not just a tip. We're going all in. All in. They didn't do nothing.
Balls deep.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the area of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, these are areas in which Israel is prohibited to extend their borders to, correct? Or are these just areas that Palestinians primarily inhabit?
MC, you'd be better answering that question than I.
I'm sorry. What was your question again?
So the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, are these technically within Israel's parameters? Like, if you want to talk about borders, or are these just...
Depends on how you want to look at it. Okay, the Gaza Strip and the West Bank were areas that were seized during the 6-Day War.
Okay.
Right?
So it's theirs, pretty much.
Well, but basically, the Gaza Strip specifically is, for all intents and purposes, a refugee haven. Right. This is where the UN came in there, built up these areas, and they call them refugee, refugee camps. They're not really camps; they're actual cities, but they call them refugee camps. Right. It is a small area. It doesn't have very many resources. It has very little water, and the water that it does get, right, is basically under the control of the Israelis completely. Right. And this is obviously a major sticking point to the Palestinians. Mm-hmm. Now, the West Bank. Fatah has more power in the West Bank, whereas in the Gaza Strip, Hamas is the main player.
Okay.
And this attack here is coming from the Gaza Strip, which is Hamas. And the Hamas leaders basically, they ordered basically a frontal assault on the wall. That's what they're pushing toward.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest, as I see it, this is Israeli territory. So whatever they want to do, fucking go for it. Because, I mean, I don't know. Would we view West Germany as American, as allied territory? Technically speaking, didn't we own portions of Germany? So, this
we
is as far as
portions of Germany.
Yeah.
The areas that the British and the French didn't control and the Russians didn't control. There was four. All right. At the end of World War II, we partitioned Germany into 4 sections. There was the occupied section by the British, an occupied section by the Americans, an occupied section by the French, which I don't know why we give the French anything, right? And an occupied area by the Russians or the Soviets. And not only did we occupy those areas, we also did the same thing in the city of Berlin. We created in Berlin 3 separate areas or 4 separate areas. Now, of course, as time moves forward, basically the Western Germany were the consolidated zones of the Western powers, whereas East Germany became the area that was controlled by the Russians that was sectionalized off. And same thing with Berlin. East Berlin was the area by the Russians. The rest of it became, basically Berlin. Now that doesn't mean that they weren't necessarily occupied. They were still technically occupied, right, by treaty. So, but that's the way it was then. Now, how does the world look at the Gaza Strip? How does the world look at the West Bank? It's a completely different matter.
Yeah. Well, we all know how the fucking liberals look at it. These just a bunch of poor people being oppressed, even though, a couple of years ago they decided to fucking go to war and they somehow got their nation kicked.
They're a group of people. I mean, if you were up early in the morning, you would have saw one of my tweets to one of these people. All right, where this person tweeted me that karma's a bitch and the Israelis deserve everything they're going to get. And I said, okay, if the mystical karma fairy is going to sit up there and be handing out, dispensing justice, I can't wait to see what they give a group of people who strap bombs to their children and send them to go blow up schools.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, if karma's going to be a bitch, let's remember who is the most armed. I mean, the karma is not going to be going, is not going to be going against Israel.
When you look at it, if you look at it from that perspective, today's outcome is pretty much the karma that I was referring to.
That's exactly it. Yeah, exactly. They got the karma. Yeah. Karma seems to be a bitch because they're the ones fucking bitching.
Can't you calm? Can't you calm?
Yeah.
Can I just see the Palestinians? Charge the wall!
No, it's funny. I'm in here talking to you guys, and also at the same time trying to teach Omega how to use the fucking rhythm bot because he's an idiot in Discord. Just throwing that out there.
I don't know how to use the rhythm bot, nor do I want to, but that's a separate issue.
Well, what kind of music would you listen to anyway? Some guy playing the spoons?
Why the fuck would he listen to Styx? That's such a fucking
guitar.
Nice. Okay, so I also saw since 40 just joined, let's go a little bit later than usual. Try and get a little bit of time in with the co-host here. So 40, I saw Razorfist posted a video about the Iranian deal yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And holy shit, one, Razorfist is far more entertaining and insightful than Styx, which I like them both, but I'm giving this one to Razorfist by far. And damn, he was right, wasn't he?
Yeah, I like Razorfist a lot more than I like Styx. Because, I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I like both of them, but Razorfist has the edge.
Well, Razorfist is more entertainment.
Yeah, but he's entertainment, but also he gets the information in. He does it in an entertaining way and in a very concise way too.
Mm-hmm.
His videos are but usually less than 10 minutes. But he manages to pack all the information.
It's because he talks so fast.
Hilarious.
True. But he's throwing in comedy as well.
Because he just keeps going on and on and on.
There are people who can recycle air through their nose. He's probably like he's probably done some Mongolian throat singing exercises or something.
He is definitely entertainment. And to be honest, I've been enjoying his DS9 episodes.
Yeah, I've enjoyed those. Yeah, I did a few of those the other day.
And it makes me want to jump on the fucking bandwagon and start doing some more Trek shit. Just because we do get good views when we talk Trek over here, and I could dissimulate some fucking DS9. I'm watching a series. Dissimulate. There was a D in front of there. Dissimulate.
I could decimate.
Oh,
debilitate. I could debilitate some DS9.
Nerds be free.
I've had it with Cabbage.
Reclaim my wings.
No, that's it. I'm turning in my libertarian card and I'm going full on fascist. Cabbage, you gotta go. No,
oh god, don't give me the full ogre.
God damn it. No, but when it comes to the Iranian deal, though, let's not diverge into the DS9 episodes, which I really like also. But in particular, this Iranian deal video that Razorfist put out, I love the part where he's talking about that interview he did over on the Drunken Peasants, and he has that in there. You're like, yeah, that did age well, didn't it? Like, that guy was a fucking idiot.
Against Kyle Kolinsky. Yes.
Yeah.
That I was disappointed in his performance, but I mean, I know he's better than that, so it wasn't a terrible letdown. Just needs to fucking practice next time.
Well, the speed of delivery of
tries hard, could do better.
Is very difficult to compete against when he gets on that roll.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the thing. He beautifully scripts it, and I mean even if you don't agree with something, it's still fun to listen to. You know.
Yes.
So it's just. I mean, it's great entertainment, but there is good, useful information in what he said. Well, his rants, that is. I mean, the DS9 thing. I mean, that's entirely up to people's personal preferences.
Yeah, he's definitely
tracky stuff.
Got some colorful insults.
Yeah, he does. He's very good with the insults. It's well scripted. He puts work into it. That's not spontaneous.
Oh no, that was great too. I don't remember what joke he made, but then he goes, "Oh, I didn't mean Kathy Griffin." And I just laughed my ass off.
Yeah,
that was great.
That was brilliant.
I
put
a link in the chat to this thing about George Papadopoulos.
Oh yeah, you want to go into that a little bit? I don't want to fucking kiss Razorfist's ass anymore. We're good, but I'm just saying I liked his stance on the Iranian deal, and yeah, it was a really good fucking video.
Okay, now this is important because of the New York Times claiming that the Steele dossier was not the reason for the FISA warrant. So they're saying,
except for the fact that they fucking cited it.
Well, hold on. But George Papadopoulos is what they try to raise to say, okay, this is the reason for it. All right. So now listen to this. 2 months before the election, George Papadopoulos received a strange request for a meeting in London, one of several the young Trump advisor would be offered, and he would accept during the presidential campaign. The meeting request, which has not been reported until now, came from Stephen Halper, a foreign policy expert and Cambridge professor with connections to the CIA and the British counterpart MI6.
Fucking what, mate?
I do remember this story now.
Okay.
Oh, fucking hell, it took that. I remember
Halper's September 16th outreach to Papadopoulos wasn't his only contact with Trump campaign members. The 73-year-old professor and veteran of 3 Republican administrations met with 2 other campaign advisors, the Daily Caller News Foundation's learned. Papadopoulos now questions Halper's motivations for contacting him, according to a source familiar with Papadopoulos' thinking. That's not just because of the randomness of the inquiry, but because the questions Halper is said to have asked during their face-to-face meeting in London. According to a source with knowledge of the meeting, Halper asked Papadopoulos, George, you know about the hacking the emails from Russia, right? Papadopoulos told Halper that he did not know anything about the emails or the Russian hacking, said the source, who spoke on a condition of anonymity. I hate anonymous freaking sources. They suck so bad. All right. Due to the sensitivity.
Yeah, well, it's better than ones called Iceman.
Well, okay, you got a point. Now, why is that important? It's important because Papadopoulos got drunk, met with a quote-unquote diplomat from Australia, who then reported that during the drunken thing, Papadopoulos bragged that he knew about the Russians hacking the DNC and Hillary Clinton's emails. Now, if the information you got was from the frickin' CIA FBI mole, who Stephen Halper is considered to be the mole, then basically you have the mole telling the quote-unquote suspect so that they could report back, oh, we heard that this guy knew about this information, the information we provided, of course, we don't tell anybody that, but we knew about this information, all right, to prove Russian collusion, and this is why we need the FISA warrant to continue the investigation.
Why do you think I gave you the example of Iceman? Because it's basically we created this thing so that we could get the information we needed in order to report it, so we could get the action we wanted to begin with.
Basically,
Same strategy.
They're using this as a justification for investigating the Trump campaign during the election. This was a spy operation by the Obama administration to basically watch what was going on as an excuse, all right, within the Trump administration.
So these rumors of a mole within the Trump campaign, it's most likely true then.
Yes.
No, it's already been proven, hasn't it? I thought.
Well, they haven't officially said that this person was the mole, but yeah, I would say that it's pretty much true.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
And this guy Stephen Halper is the mole. So basically, the FBI put somebody in there to say to say, hey, this information came from Russia. So that when this guy's in a drunken freaking binge says, oh, I heard that this came from Russia. See these guys that they're in contact with the Russians, right? That's why we got to investigate them. Here's your warrant. That's what they're dealing with.
And again, I believe that one didn't it also go back to some the utilization of information from that guy was because something had been leaked to a newspaper. And then that was used as a reference source.
Well,
so
right,
they were using a leak as part of a reference source.
Halper met campaign foreign policy advisor Carter Page in July of 2016.
There you go.
So basically,
I knew there was something. Yeah. See?
So basically, this whole thing is absolutely made up by the people who wanted to spy on the Trump campaign. It's a completely made up thing internally. The Russians weren't even involved.
But but the thing is that all of this stuff being done, because this was happening right during the presidential elections, so this must have been authorized by Obama.
Yes, it had to have been operated by the Obama campaign or the Obama administration.
Yeah,
I won't say necessarily Obama, but there's no way that Loretta Lynch didn't know about this. There's absolutely no way Loretta Lynch couldn't have known about this and known where this information was coming from, and her name is all over this as well. These people are dirty.
Look, somebody had to sign off on it.
And Rosenstein had to have known about this as well. Rosenstein needs to be fired now and investigated.
See, here's the thing. I have trouble believing Obama didn't know, quote unquote, about this investigation or any of the bullshittery going on here. Because, I mean, that would be suggesting that this man literally can't control his own fucking house.
Well,
right?
No, he was deferring accountability down, He was like, just...
I understand what you're saying, but proof is... There's one thing about proof, there's one thing about,
suspicion. I understand.
Plausible deniability, mate. That's all you need.
And that's why he would do it. I mean, to be honest, who's to say that he didn't sit there and go, what I think is that Trump might be colluding with the Russians, and then someone decides to do an investigation.
Well, exactly. It's like going back, which was a play or film or whatever, where who will rid me of these turbulent priests? The king says it, and the knight overhears it and goes and kills the priest.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Somebody acts, not necessarily with direct orders, but with the perceived will of the president.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well,
getting to
my internet just came back. I don't know if we'll be kicked off, but I'm going to try and switch back to the computer. I'm on my phone out on the porch because the internet went down.
Oh, fuck.
That's why I'm in here as Mad Dodge Productions. Yeah, but the modem just started working again, so I'm going to try and switch back. I'll be right back, guys.
Well, we're on your stream, so if it doesn't you don't come back quickly, we're going to get kicked out.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It just now the third light came back on, so I'll be right back.
Run.
15. You get 15 minutes before. So even Hangouts knows its service sucks.
But no, this is more proof that this entire thing's a scam. This is more proof that this entire thing, that the FBI is fully aware of what's going on with it, which goes back to, okay, then what is Mueller actually investigating? All right, Mr. Mueller, you got some explaining to do here.
Well, I mean, technically, he was meant to be investigating himself. Well, that's not going to turn out too well, is it?